ranked and cry.
Give me time to warm up, bro. What the hell?
I don't know if you warmed up or not, my dude. Don't look at me. Don't look at me, okay? I did nothing.
I haven't played this game seriously in like 9 days.
9 days. We played ranked. How long ago did we play ranked? Actually, I don't know. Oh wait, I haven't played ranked this season, have I? Wait, did I? I'm pretty sure I did.
Once.
Do we? Okay.
I actually have no idea.
I have no idea. I don't remember either.
To win this one.
And I am with you. There's no place I'd rather be.
Is but an illusion.
No place I'd rather be.
Oh shit! You're gonna let Mad Moon warm up? That's crazy.
Oh.
We are. This is a quick one, my dude.
Is this confirm your hero now? Oh, it's got it.
Always says that.
Yeah, you missed the band phase.
My bad. My bad.
Lock in stuff, bro. You missed the band phase already.
I was on TikTok, bro. My wife be sending me TikToks, man. I gotta watch them.
Happens, bro.
Of course,
Happens.
as you should.
If not, I get in trouble.
Yeah, you'd be a bad husband if you. W attention span? Yes. Yes.
She beats me, bro.
Wow.
As she should.
Wow, that is an accusation. Oh,
As she should.
I
She
kind of
beats me.
agree.
She's Latina, bro. She beats me. I can't even cry for help because
Can't even cry for help.
my other side, my family is Filipino too.
They side with her? Okay.
Yeah,
As they should,
they love
right?
her. This is, yeah, he's gonna pull. Yep. The run go. There we go, the run go. We good. Push in. Yo. Don't be scared of him. Yo.
Hey.
Look at door.
Sorry, we're looking at rogue that was after my ass. Thank you for coming back for me, T. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
I feel the love. I feel the love.
Scan initiated. Vigilante activity detected.
Help get that vehicle to its destination.
Where the fuck did Gambit come from? What the hell?
Power beyond sight. Our enemies are near.
Look at her. Hood's weak.
Someone's behind us. It's
Got the point.
Well, you just got killed by her.
Yeah,
I was like, who is hitting me? I was like so confused at first.
Double KO.
Cart.
We got it. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm feeling a little zesty against me today. Was it yesterday?
What happened? What happened yesterday?
Huh?
What happened yesterday? Something clearly happened.
Wong didn't put breaking into prison on my to-do list. By the eye of Agamotto.
Man. I am lagging.
Oh no! I was about to ult.
You're halfway there. Keep going. This regime is about to go out with a bang.
Oh no, you won't have the push, buddy.
Oh.
Burn it.
Oh.
Okay. Not ideal.
Oh, too fat.
Psionic magic.
You are not excused. Do
This is
better.
weak as fuck, bro.
Elastic and fantastic.
Oh, they changed his voice a lot.
Just get the team up on.
Oh, cover.
I can't. Oh my god. I've been slow on this fucking Thor.
Jesus Christ. Oh my god. This must be
I
inappropriate.
was focusing on each res there because I got pushed to a corner. And then it just broke down from there.
I have unfinished.
Gotta read just my
business
fucking
here.
Discord audio settings. I cannot hear shit.
Get that vehicle moving.
Oh man,
you-
the one I was playing with yesterday, it was Sleepy Bunny, bro. She's super chill. But the other randoms.
Yeah, the randoms, bro. Those randoms were like on some weird shit, bro.
They were annoying the fuck out of each other.
Bro, I was fried as fuck with my friend. We were just like taking turns playing my computer, like on my computer. Then you invited me. I'm like, all right, what's this about to be at? And I didn't recognize the other three people. So for the longest time, I didn't realize that those were randoms on the team talking. I'm like, yo, who did he invite me into a party with, bro?
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody's gonna kill Hello, bro.
Yo, Rox, what did you call the hella to our left?
I did before I died.
Yeah.
You know?
Hands are shaking again. Focus.
No excuse.
Guys, this is how I get treated after I wasn't around for how long.
You expect to be treated differently?
Don't know.
You know, yeah! Treat it as if I'm loved and missed.
No, business as usual.
That kills me? God damn.
Oh, my aim. Oh, my aim. Oh, my aim.
We're sitting on all three.
Hands are shaking again. Focus.
Okay.
There are...
People on the side, yeah.
Face oblivion.
What is that ult, bro?
Oh, not again, bro. Lord help me.
I was trying.
I know.
Oh no, you wanna fight me? Nah, yeah.
By the
Missing
shades of
the first
seraphim,
place.
I return.
Get that vehicle moving again.
Enemy in front of us.
Stay close to me, Rocks.
No, I just want to shelter.
You have an Iron Fist now, bro? That's not Iron Fist. That's just rope beating my ass. Never mind.
Oh, I'm dead.
Oh, no. That's
Oh,
not
this hella keeps killing me. This hella just keeps killing me. Ooh.
60 seconds left.
good. Oh, no. I'm dead.
I love how
I need healing.
last GM.
The doctor is in.
You know you can't 1v1 me. But y'all know that. That's why you go free.
Down to 30 seconds. Get that vehicle
Y'all know that. Fuck all of you.
Power beyond sight.
Those
There is
scam to
a
keep
gambit.
avoiding my ult every single time I'm gonna hit it.
Don't go too far away, T. T, move.
I'm back. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. That's not good.
going to overtime.
Oh my god, that hella, bro.
Oh, thank you. Save my big ass life.
Stay in the car.
Holy fuck, I'm lagging crazy.
You gotta put pressure in the front, Matt.
Door.
Hold on one second. I sorry. I figure out why I'm lagging.
So he's gonna be on top. Stay together here.
Warned and put breaking into prison on my to-do list.
Vehicle reached a checkpoint. Keep up the momentum.
I am strengthened for battle.
There we go. Holy fuck! Love this, and also I'm loving the fact that I'm cooking empanadas as I'm watching this. Empanada! Ooh, do you want to share?
Suspicious.
You want to share? What kind of empanadas are you cooking? You want to share? You want to share, Ruby? Empanadas?
Oh wait, Rocket's really low going outside again.
Yeah.
Door's gonna want to
forget
flank
it.
it, careful.
Enemy to pursue.
Door's here. Oh, he's so low.
Bionic magic.
Oh, he's coming back.
Oh my fucking god! Fucking rogue.
Enemies are near.
Okay, we're all dead. I'm just kidding. You can't have none. They're all for my little sister. Oh, okay.
The
We
sorcerer
appreciate these
supreme
stats. We
Portland?
appreciate
Portland?
this stat.
Pentagram of Hurrah.
Get that vehicle moving again.
Power beyond sight.
End this wall. End this side.
Dude, how did that freaking way that didn't hit you?
Get rogue, get rogue, get rogue.
Sorry, I'm fighting Mr. Fantastic over here, which I'm about to
All
fight.
good, all good.
That's twice already.
My ult always misses on the third jump. I don't get it, dude. Man, I'm trying to think the Gambit can freaking deflect that thing with a team up.
Look at rogue, look at rogue, look at rogue.
An unseen assist.
Turn it back, turn it back.
Oh, sounds good.
And
I'm ulting.
Bionic magic.
Fantastic's dead. Door's behind us. Nice.
Lord's second life.
You dead. I'm just gonna push.
An unseen assist.
Jesus Christ.
Nice. Holy fuck. Holy fuck. That took a lot.
Unfortunately, we did.
That took way too long. Anyways, good job, guys. Good job. Lock the fuck in. Holy fuck, these stats. Mad fuck. He's such a mad fuck. How did their Gambit die 10 times? I don't.
Cause he didn't have me in his team, that's why.
Okay. Y'all hear this guy?
That's
Y'all hear this
exactly
guy?
why.
I heard him, bro. I heard him. He's spitting facts.
Thank you, man.
Goddamn.
Let's show Rocks how connected
Easy, not
we
even
are
close.
now, since she left.
How connected you are now?
Yeah.
You guys had fun while I was away?
Look at this. Matt, pick a number between 1 and 10.
I clicked another quick match. Whatever.
Oh.
I guess we'll do another one.
You still want me to pick a number if you did this quick match.
Yeah. Pick a number between 1 and 10. This is how connected.
That's how
we
locked
are.
we are? Alright. I picked a
Bitch,
number. I picked
how
a number.
do I know you're good? How do I
Pick
know
a number.
you're not
Pick
gonna
any
choose
number.
the number?
Pick
I got,
any
Oh
number.
I got. You want me to say it out loud?
Top-notch team to
Yes,
win
say it
this
aloud.
He's just
Alright.
gonna choose the same
4.
number.
down. It was the exact same number I had in my head.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly,
right?
bro.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Exact
We're locked
same
in, bro. We
number.
are locked
Wow.
in.
That
Wow.
locked in, bro.
Wow. 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 I'm so happy for you too. Guys, they're so locked in, it's not even funny. It's not
Yo,
even
Penny,
funny.
Penny's over 18, right?
Huh?
In the game, yes.
Penny. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why are you asking that question, bro?
Yeah, but why are you even asking that question?
I'm
That's
just
crazy.
asking. I'm just asking.
That's crazy. to
All
be
I'm
asking
thinking
that.
is that skirt's too short.
Nah. What's
Mm.
in his skirt? What?
Yeah, I'm looking out.
Skirt? What's
30 seconds before you attack.
Sorry for a guy that might look out. Damn.
Okay, I'm getting off of...
Come, friend. We have a great battle
Oh,
ahead of
okay.
us,
Well,
and no
okay.
time to
Thanks,
delay.
step bro. Fuck you.
I know what we gotta
What's up?
Well, I'm not.
Fuck
My
you.
offense Penny
Fuck
is
you.
not. It's not a.
Fuck
the
you.
best.
I literally
My bad.
switched from support pool to fucking Rocket so he can have the team up.
The battle starts
And then
in
he
5,
switches to Deadpool.
4,
Thank
3,
you. Appreciate
Fuck
it.
you.
1.
Olin.
All you need to do is capture the mission area.
No, thank you.
Got it?
Fuck you.
Double link. Give it to the next person.
Oh my aim. Holy.
From the side over here.
Oh my god. They're always so low. No! I pressed the wrong button! Fuck that.
No. Fuck.
I switched to speed like an imbecile, bro. Absolutely dumbass move.
And then my Spider-Man ain't doing nothing, bro.
You have a Spider-Man? Oh, Chocolate God?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yikes. Yikes. Oh my goodness. Oh my damn. No.
They have 2 dive and then a poke. That's awesome. That's exactly what I
Yeah.
want.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Don't worry, I am warming up.
The wind will
Warming up to switch to a new character.
I can't. I go into
You have to, you have to.
No, I really can't.
This guy, get this guy, please. I just keep getting more health, bro.
There's no offense on DPS anything you said. No offense, but my dude.
We had.
Every time I hit him, his health went up, bro.
Iron Fist has the white box team up. That heals him while he does his damage thing.
Okay.
I would do
Plus he
it.
has to.
Look at me. Look at me. Look at me. Look at me.
I can't even. When I go in, I'm just killed by Cyclops.
Okay.
I should get off. Arguably.
I will not
I don't know.
hide.
Yo, Strompa, can you put up the mask, bro? You're not him, brother. Please.
Put up the
We need to do
mask.
this.
Are you ready to move out or roll out?
Energy is good.
Spider-Man's coming from around.
They couldn't weather the storm.
It's a fucking shoot button. Oh no. Oh, I almost got one. Another one, at least.
Where the? That's on me. Should be still.
No, the Iron Fist thing is too much. It's too much healing done.
Oh fuck. Oh, that's not good. I'm gonna die here. But their Jeff is actually cooking us, bro. How is this happening?
Oh my god. I'm
That's
trying
not
to.
my
Okay. I'm trying to save you, step bro.
You're good.
Okay.
take this out.
I'll meet my family, but not today.
Oh my
Holy
god.
fuck, bro.
Only 60 seconds left.
Battlefield ready again.
For the Cyclops is just back there with Jeff, man.
Yep.
They don't die.
Cyclops,
They do not die.
you know.
Nobody's diving the back, that's why. Like, the back isn't touched.
Spider-Man's trying to 1v1 this Spider-Man. He's getting dipped every time, bro. There's only one thing I can do at this point, you know? There's really only one option.
Oh my god, bro.
Down to 30 seconds.
I'm gonna go DPS here, T. You can do yourself as a tank. I need to touch his backline, if not these guys ain't never gonna die.
Dude, times like just die.
Fuck it. Never mind.
Going to overtime.
Holy shit, guys. This is embarrassing.
Bionic magic.
That's
What? Jubilee, what are you doing? What are you doing?
dumb.
Okay.
Well, you can't expect to win them all.
That's
Spider-Man, you're fucking dog shit. Delete the fucking game. Get your money back, but the game is fucking free. Fuck you.
alright, we're doing all that in quick match. I think we're about to have a great competitive.
I just had to say it, bro. I'm sorry. I hold that shit in all the game. Sorry.
What did you say, Spider-Man? That you please? I literally see. Oh my god. What do you think? We're gonna beat a tank? Oh, I don't know. I was already dead. This bitch. I don't know. Whatever. Fuck me. Anyway, moving on. Okay, guys. Time for comp. Are we excited? Are we ready?
Should've gone comp after the first one. Now I'm down.
No. Now it's gonna go back up, bro. You gotta believe.
Bro,
No, this is a
dead
perfect
ass.
time. Perfect time, right, guys?
Yesterday I was playing with Bunny. Matt.
Yeah.
And I was like, sure, I'll play some games with you, right? Because she invited me, and then she went ranked with her other friend. And bro, I don't know how they're on plat.
Oh.
I love Bunny. I love her, right?
Oh.
But it's like
But
Bunny,
Oh,
Buddy, what's
Goddamn.
going on?
oh damn. That's crazy. That's crazy to say about your own friend, my dude.
I'd rather, you know, I'm like Bunny. Let's go to quick play. That's what we were playing quick play.
Wow, man was so scared of his elo going down. He's like, quick play. Let's do
it's
quick
like
play.
that, bro.
No, I mean like I don't mind win or lose, but the thing that
Yeah.
I hate
It's only
is
lose.
that when no, the thing that I hate is that like when they're in your own team, right? If you're going 2-8 and you're pointing fingers, because that's what her friend was doing that.
Like,
you know what I
at
mean?
other people or at
Yeah, he like give me example. He was healer, and
Okay.
he went like 1 in like 5, right?
Oh.
And he was like, well, my Jubilee was doing dog shit, and I couldn't do shit.
It's like
Yeah,
that,
and
it's
then
like
next game he went DPS, and then he went healer, and then he went another
why is this
DPS.
Poco banning group? Bitch, you literally are the counter.
I'll let her know, brother. Aren't you the
No,
counter?
shut up. Let's leave it.
Like that's like I don't care win or lose. That's the one like ick I got. You know what I mean? That's like you're pointing fingers, but it's never you. You know what I mean?
Did they even try swapping at all or no?
They would swap, but they would just blame everybody. Like he would just blame everybody. And I'm like, I don't know him like that yet.
I don't
you know
know-
what I mean?
I
I
don't
don't.
know
No,
this
nothing bad, right? I just don't know him yet. You know what I mean? That's her
Yeah,
friend.
yeah.
Like with you and with like everybody, like we banter and shit, right? But I'm like, I don't know. Like you start.
Don't worry, I know I'm the problem, guys. Oh, they don't want
the
that.
first step
either.
is acceptance,
Nah,
bro.
man.
Yeah, true. I can go sit the tank here. Oh, no,
You need to get second support, bro.
Yeah. I'm probably gonna go.
I believe in King Skelly.
I could probably go Invis here.
I'm actually gonna use the Luna team out since we don't have a hood.
Why'd they buy Venom? Down.
Venom's
and there,
annoying.
and then
Venom's
he
too
was.
tanky.
The thing that I hated, he plays with a tracker, bro.
Oh,
Oh,
goddamn.
it's like that.
Yeah, he plays with a tracker.
So he's telling you who to ban and whatever shit?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, and I'm over here
damn.
like,
Ugh.
because I joined and he was like, oh, you're in an 8 winning streak on comp, and your top 3 was Thing, Emma, and
Yeah,
Magic.
pocket watching like that. It says here.
Yeah,
Wait,
bro.
why is he looking
yeah.
at your shit? Like, what the
Oh.
fuck?
Because I don't know. He was thinking like who is he gonna play with type shit, you know? Like I'm guessing. But then when we got in, he was like, yeah, we need ban this, we need ban. I'm like, and then we still. I'm like, brother, like, doesn't matter if you know who to ban if you're a fucking dog shit, you know? Like you can't kill like.
The battle starts in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I pray to Odin that
You have to stop them from securing the mission area.
seems we have company.
It's on the roof.
There's a.
Playing that
I've
strength.
seen one
Oh,
from
they're going
above.
triple tank.
They have a name or in a side class.
Get the squid. Too many beams. Too many beams.
We're switched down for now.
Just stay back a bit. Rocks. Yeah, stay behind me.
Look,
Yeah.
squid's top right. Top right. With the more up there.
I'm trying, but I also want to get this stupid fucking name.
Oh, he wanted to end this team up.
There's someone behind us. By the way. Oh, yep, behind.
Ooh,
Somebody behind?
there's no one behind. That's the side class beam ricocheting from everyone.
Yeah.
Bro,
Sorry.
schizophrenia, bro. Oh my god.
Dude, this game got me on edge, yo.
Twas but a scratch.
Try to stay on the bubble here, so Rockets can get hella healed here.
I have ult, by the way.
Us against the world.
There we go. You answer that. You answer that.
What the fuck is happening to my computer? Oh, that was crazy. Like, what the fuck is happening?
Answer back. Answer back. Where you going, Rock? The boy's back here. I gotta answer that.
I'm sorry. I was like,
You all see over there.
No. Oh, I started lagging again. What's happening? What the fuck is happening?
Oh, they win squad by the way.
Help!
They don't
Help!
have
Help!
any anymore.
Help! Help! I just heard something get unplugged in my computer. What the fuck is happening?
dude,
Oh
the
my god.
strange is so low. I was trying
What
to
the
get this
fuck just
strange.
unplugged itself? What the fuck just replugged in itself?
I forgot they had a strange. God forgot.
It's strange, it's strange. And then he pulled health and then ulted. Yeah.
Oh, that's not good.
Alright, so it's the crazy man. Crazy man? Ooh, the one that uses the tracker. Talk to Step Bro. That's who he's playing with. He's playing with people with trackers.
What happened?
He's playing with fucking Palantir here. What the hell?
The god of thunder! Twas but a scratch.
Fucking Squirrel Girl versus Squirrel Girl over here, bro. Oh, brother.
I can see. I can see.
Squirrels. The squirrels. The fucking squirrels.
Reloading, I'm reloading.
Look at me, Rock. Look at me, Rock. First.
Even though you were alive.
Back up here. We're back here. We're back up here. Don't die. Back up.
Oh. That's our supports. Bro's dead. I'm gonna die. Okay, at least I didn't die to fucking.
Dude.
The lightning of Asgard returns.
Okay, we just
I
gotta,
can't
we
tell
just gotta
your
re-
Johnny team up between the other Invictus Johnny team. I was like, oh, yeah. Could you check something for? Oh, that man. I just want to check something. Yeah, I don't know.
We need a shield here. They got too much
That
poke.
bro wants to play with people. You know,
Okay. bro.
Oh my god, how am I getting shot over here?
The thing is, we're staggering here. That's the only reason we're getting pushed back this bad.
Dude, I'm actually getting annoyed by this stupid team up thing. I can't tell which one's yours and which one's theirs. They're both fucking orange. Thank you. Thank you so much. Orange is what I want to see.
Plates are.
I'm sure there's like the one slight different pixelation difference of orange shade, bro. That's gonna.
Yeah, it's probably a shade of orange. Yeah, I'm supposed to.
I have to answer this? No, am I?
Oh, we gotta do something.
Dude, they're getting too much healing.
See, the problem is I thought that King Skelly was gonna be Magneto the whole time, bro.
Oh my
I
God.
did not do that.
It's okay. Cart's all the way back there.
Oh, should have just
Got someone. Oh, I'm gonna die. Okay, well, I think this is dead.
that man, you wanna, Seppo, you wanna ult first?
No, we're not gonna be able to.
No, I don't even have time, bro. What the fuck?
The current score is
King Skelly, bro. I believed in him, man.
3.
No.
Time to switch things up.
He went off Magneto, bro. I don't even know why.
What do you mean off Magneto? He's on
You'll need a
Magneto.
He started as Magneto, then he went off Magneto, then he went back to Magneto.
Oh yeah, he went thing. He went fucking thing. Why was he going thing?
I don't know.
Who's he going for?
I don't know.
They have a dino. Well, why are you going thing? Fuck.
He was trying his best, guys.
You know, we have a.
Man went to thing.
Portuguese.
Yo, Matt, you wanna go? You wanna go?
Light darker shade
Sheila
of
here.
orange.
We can
I'm
go-
so glad it's a slight darker shade of orange, guys. I'm so happy. I'm so happy.
go shield here.
You'll see
He's
what
doing
I
thing
mean.
for himself. Yeah, for himself, right?
Actually,
Right.
30 seconds before you attack. Get ready.
Grim was right about you. If you were a star,
Yeah,
you'd be a
but-
total class M.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I just stupid shit.
I know you were doing great on tank. It's just that if I tell the other guy,
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I understand. I understand.
throw it.
I understand.
Yeah,
I understand. We gotta do what we can
Help
here.
one person you got to do.
yeah. Careful with the TP. Careful with TP.
All you need to
It's still
do is
winnable. It's only
get
2
to this
minutes.
area.
You nutty? All right,
That's like
bro.
literally a push.
2.5 minutes. I never had any more 2.5 minutes. I got some heals.
When I pull this range,
Thank you.
you gotta look at him, right? Or you can pull him as 12 if you're still. Oh no, man, you switch. There you go. Play slow hill. Play slow hill. There we go. No shit.
Dude, these nuts are fucking killing me. And I mean that literally. Oh, and the Cyclops is fucking killing me. You know, just the usual.
Oh shit. Oh shit.
Oh, and he got pulled in. Can't do anything about that. my dude.
Back up. Back up. Back up. Back up.
Okay, hold your horses. I'm deploying rodents unite.
Jesus
There
Christ.
we go.
It's just you up there, bro.
Oh my god, these nuts, these nuts! I can't.
Okay, you're ready for
What are these nuts?
We good. We good. We good.
Yeah, I'm out if we can push up in any capacity.
You're welcome. This is real firepower.
Disappear.
Play out. Play out though. Oh my god, those fucking scrolls, bro. Holy fucking damage.
Good? We're back here.
Just back up. Just back up.
Someone scratch my back.
I'm TPing here. I'm TPing. Yo, TP.
Armor pads here. Pay up. I'm good to go.
Forced ult. Holy fuck. It's taking better
Oh.
healers.
Dinosaur dead. Oh, I got hit by that.
On me,
Oh,
I should
I'm dead.
have gotten out of that. I should have gotten out of that. That's on me.
Why is he ulting that? Fuck.
It's okay. We still got time.
Wait.
Oh, I'm not gonna make it
our May ult. Why didn't he? Oh, what the fuck?
We're good.
You can do about it.
Magneto is not the play here.
Oh my god.
He really doesn't have anything to absorb other than the nuts.
Yeah. All he has is like this fucking shield for 2 seconds, bro. What he can do? Get 23, get some bans. Oh. Hold on. Okay. Hold on.
Keep T alive here.
Those guys are about to shoot at us.
Guys.
Oh fuck.
There we go.
This is real fire.
Look at Dino. There we go. Look at the train.
Train.
Jesus fucking Christ, bro. Cyclops. Invis. You went back to thing? Alright, whatever. You know what? Whatever. Let him do what his heart desires.
I'm on him though. I'm trying to.
We went triple support.
You're welcome.
I unleash the Vishanti's
Those guys are about to shoot at us.
I misjudged the distance.
my favorite time.
Look at Dino. There we go. I'm trying to catch up to him.
Guys, I got nothing.
Oh, I'm trying to push back. Fuck. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Almost there. Don't turn back now.
Thank you so much.
No!
T alive. He's like good damage here.
My moon.
Fight for my fucking life, bro.
Okay, I'm helping.
Go. Dino can die.
Look at Dino. Good shit.
Keep going. Okay, I got swallowed. Okay, I got spit out.
You're ready for action.
Look at Invis. There we go.
Nice.
Is dead?
I'm gonna die here.
Stretch can die. There we go. Dino.
The thing almost has all.
Here comes Rocket again.
Healer dead.
You got it? Can I go back?
The vehicle reached a checkpoint. Keep up the momentum.
Dang, we're.
Ready for action.
I'm trying to stay with him. I'm trying to
I
like
know.
cover him. He's
No,
going.
I'm just
I mean,
like-
he didn't.
Oh, this
like
guy
half
getting
health and
rowdy,
he's
bro.
running in there.
Nah, he's getting rowdy, bro. I mean, it's working, but he's getting a little rowdy.
I just gotta stay with him. No, they
You did not just fall.
They pushed me off.
Oh,
Are you back?
I tried to
Okay, you're
jump
back.
in
You're
and
back. You're
Invis
back.
pushed me
You're
off.
back up. Just back up. You got revived.
Oh, bro. The
All we really
ult
lost.
on
All we really
bro.
lost was thing. I have my ult. If we can get a good position on that.
You can't be going.
This is real firepower.
Oh, they broke the fucking thing real quick, so. Nice.
KT.
Oh, okay. That's it.
Eat s'mores, jerks.
What the fuck is that motherfucker think he was? Trying to come and kill us like that.
Don't let anything stand in your way.
My good deed for the day.
Green card, doesn't matter how many you kill if you're not a part.
I unleash the Vishanti's power.
Heal her down, heal her down.
There we go. Oh shit, sorry. I was trying to
Yeah,
hit
kill the
it.
healer. I'll keep you somewhere.
Jesus Christ. Just in case.
Do that.
By the eye of Agamotto.
Oh no! We couldn't get out of that. Oh my god, that's so stupid. Dude. Just Justin.
Nowhere yet. Going to overtime.
Fuck. No.
And that ult is crazy.
No.
Oh shit, we lost.
Good try. Jeez. Good first game.
Fuck.
Final score 2-2-3.
There's no fucking way.
Oh,
Being Sally, bro.
Well, you can't expect to win
I'm
them
still
all.
there. I'm just being like 1 minute ago. Alright, watch it. I'm still there. So do you think it's... Oh, okay.
Oh, this guy played 5
Good start
characters
from-
and 4 of them were DPS.
Yeah. Yep.
Really
Yup.
consider Gan and Dino next round, not gonna lie.
Nope, doesn't it?
Oh my fucking god.
Good
Really,
first game.
really considering it.
You can do it,
Consider
bro.
what?
Banning Dino and Cyclops, what'd you say?
I mean,
Dino.
Dino, you were the counter Dino there. You should have got like more headshots with them.
I
But it's
couldn't.
fine.
You have any idea how many headshots I did? Their healers have over 50,000 heals on him.
Yeah, they switched to 3 healers at the end. Well, barely, actually.
Yeah, they
So-
both have basically like 100,000 heals combined.
Dude. They're invisible. Like, what the fuck? Okay. Okay. I'm side-eyeing our Jeff a bit, you know? Just a bit. Just a bit.
You mean our
Yeah,
Jeff,
he-
Sorogo,
he-
Moon Knight, Human
he-
Torch, and Iron Man?
Yeah, he
Yeah,
couldn't.
with only
It
4
was
finals. With
the DPS
28,000,
got there, but
you know, damage. You know?
Yeah. Third most damage on the
No.
team, least final hits on the team.
No, I can't even complain about King Shelly. Like, Shecky or whatever. Can't even complain about him. He actually, you know, held his own, but we kind of had to make up for it. And then goes the thing. GG's, yeah. GG's, guys. GG's. GG's. Just lock in, lock in, lock in. We got this. We got this. We got this, guys. I believe in all of us. Okay? Believe in
Yeah.
all of us.
believe in magic.
Okay.
Which
got
hero
this.
do you think you want to be
Want to be
today?
here today? Hero, do
I
you
am
think
the
you want
god
to be
of
here
thunder
today?
and the mightiest
Today-
avenger.
Eat nuts and get
Actually, I'm impressed we haven't seen. No one's playing the hood right now. I thought people would lock in the hood, but then again, I've been gone for a week,
Am I
so
gonna vanish from this match?
I've been gone for a whole ass week. I don't know shit, yo.
Ooh, good news from around the world that nobody talks about. China has officially banned OnlyFans, calling it website disease
Oh, that's crazy.
that
That's
threatens
crazy.
social order
Oh,
and public
T.
morale.
T, they have a tracker.
Oh, they banned.
They have a tracker.
They
T.
banned T Cafe. No way, dude.
They have a tracker, T. Who are we
Absolutely
banning?
no
Who are we
way.
banning? Who are we banning? Fun?
Yeah, pick whatever.
Black
Yeah,
Cat?
let's start finding
Okay.
Black Cat. I don't know. I don't know. The B target ban. I know, right? To be honest,
Damn,
finish this, okay?
Magneto. Not Magneto.
They're really target banning T. What the fuck? T, who'd you piss off on their team?
Finland is the happiest country in the world for the 9th year in a row.
What are the Finnish doing?
Thor's next watch?
I
Nah,
just
nah,
like
nah.
to say
Never, bro.
it just means that they have less people in the press.
Punisher?
Oh.
Damn.
Both teams banning the Punisher. Oh, damn.
Double ban on
Pick your
Punisher.
hero or villain.
South Korea
I'm not
shut down the
judging.
dog meat market,
Oh,
saving
yeah,
around
they banned
80k.
I hope so,
dogs.
bro. How are they gonna get that one done, though?
They
Isn't that
banned it, but doesn't mean it's gonna be shut down. Let's be honest.
yeah? Doesn't mean that it's going away, bro.
Yep.
Bro got the FBI
Yeah,
pulling
but-
background checks on him.
Bro. You know, if they banned Thor, that would be fucking hilarious. I'd be like, yeah, someone's using it.
Yesterday I was getting fucking banned like crazy.
Who?
I was on ranks. I played ranks a bit.
Your Magic was getting banned? Is that it?
Yeah, I could not play Magic. I played like 5-6 games and they were all banned.
30 seconds
They
before
banned
you attack.
Magic?
Get ready.
Yeah, that's a bit
I was like
suspicious.
I was like in a 9 win streak. Bro.
Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious. Hey, don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious.
All right, guys,
Hey,
ready to win this game of
guys, watch
domination?
Watch this. Ah, Frozen. That was oh god.
The battle starts in 5, 4.
Now that thing is on a 10-second cooldown still. Question is why only T?
He's our best player, bro.
Because
Probably
he's
the
about
only
to
one.
dominate on Cycle?
Probably has his things on public.
No, he doesn't. I'm pretty sure. T, you have your shit. I'm sorry, T.
Go
I'm
point, go
sorry.
go point here. There's a Thor. Go point.
Thor over there, by the way. Thor over there.
Oh, having the more, bro. Oh, not the squiddy bitties.
Yeah, I wanted to ban Namor, but the first time I picked it, it didn't go through.
Sorry,
And
my
nobody
bad.
else
Hey,
picked
man,
it,
if first
so
you
I
don't
assumed-
succeed, you gotta
There's
try
a hella
again.
behind us.
We're
That's
gonna be
great,
down.
bro.
Yeah. She got fucking scared. She didn't know I was gonna jump that much.
Oh,
Are you good?
nope, I died.
Oh, you died?
Yeah, it's okay. I should have ICD'd myself. I just don't use the
fucking
ice
more,
team up
bro.
as much. Yeah, when do you ever use that ability? I personally try not to use it too much because I'm not a full receiver.
Why don't you just use the hood one then? Even if it's not the full one.
I hate the hood one if it's not fully enhanced. No, I legitimately hate it. It fucks with my cheats. Like, it fucks with, like, how they work in my eyes. And so, I just can't. I can't. Besides, this one, when it's fully upgraded, even if I ice myself, you guys heal as long as you stay around it. So I actually don't feel that guilty using it.
Whoa! Widow, left side, right side, whatever the side, bro. Fuck. I did not react fast enough. She ran back to our side. Yeah, I don't know if all of us needed to turn around for that one.
We staggered that, bro. We got that
Kill the bitch,
stagger.
kill the bitch.
She's not dead yet?
Nope.
Nope, she went back down. She ran away.
She's
She
dead.
There it
went
is.
up. She went up.
No, I
She's
killed
now
her.
at
I killed her.
spawn.
She's dead, bro. Don't worry.
Oh, good.
I finished the job that I started.
Say hi.
Oh, that's not
Magic.
good. I need the grand finale. I need that grand finale.
Leto. I'm dead.
Look at cloak.
No, she's half. Fuck. Okay.
Oh, I ulted
Ooh,
that. I
she
shouldn't have
wasted her
ulted that.
ult too.
Yeah, both of us wasted our ults. Sorry, I
Ah,
thought they were still gonna be so on point, but the Widow
It's okay.
ran off point.
She ulted and I
ran.
hit her to half and then she had to run back.
Yeah, I lost the point.
Why the fuck did it go
So you
back?
rather patty cake than
Yeah,
save
yeah, yeah,
yourself?
yeah. I rather patty cake than save myself. If it's not fully enhanced and I'm using that team up, I only use it for like ults on me.
So what does it do when it's not
More
fully enhanced
ults or
then?
Magneto ults and whatever shit. Yeah. But
What
if
does it
it's
do when
fully
it's not fully
I'm-
enhanced? What does it do without being fully enhanced?
Oh, it just keeps me makes me immortal. That's it.
Oh, so then what does it add?
fully
Is it as a
enhanced
healing?
heals you. You stay in the area of it and you get healed. It's essentially like a bubble kind of.
Magic, you dead ass.
He was
well,
magic
at
and I'm
least
going
they use
thing and I'm
2 for 1,
punching all
right?
over.
Actually, that's value. Making
The guy's like, I know.
Yeah, it is. It just sucks that I use mine as
All you need to
well.
do is capture the mission.
Everybody, all their supports ulted just there, didn't they? All 4 of them.
Yeah. Well,
All supports are back to reset. We're all reset. But hey, our Emma has.
Oh, they have a
yo,
scroll
Matt,
girl
stay
now.
with me, stay
Also,
with me.
their widow. Their widow also doesn't.
I'm gonna
have
be
it.
mad aggressive here, man. You stay with me, you get that.
Oh, okay, we got the same team. Almost.
No!
Ooh, that was a close one.
Dude, come on. Where's a widow in the back, by the way?
Oh, yep. I was like, yeah, that's not a teammate. As you said it.
Oh, there's a widow, guys, in the back. I'm about to get shot dead.
Okay, guys.
I got soloed there. She got 2 healers on her, and then she soloed me, bro.
Oh, my aim. Oh, my aim. Yeah. I think I need to readjust here.
Yeah, we're gonna kill the widow? No, we're gonna.
No, we have not killed the widow.
Luna, you gotta kill that widow.
Bro said
Dude,
yawn.
does Squirrel seriously, like...
Yeah, he's been 1-4 all game. He's like, yawn. After he gets 3 kills with his ult.
Are we changing? Are we changing? Oh, this bitch is...
Talking to me? I don't even know what they're talking about that.
Did we kill the widow? No,
I don't know.
I don't. I'm being shot from behind. We did not
Widow,
kill that
let's
widow.
get it.
Where's the widow at?
Find us.
Dude, I can't with this freaking...
My favorite time.
It's actually so annoying. I'm taking too much damage from this girl, but she's not getting kills.
She's dead, she's dead. She's dead. Oh my god, where the fuck is everybody else?
Better. Try.
They're all dead.
Okay, don't worry about it.
Oh, okay.
Don't worry about it.
Good luck, Nicholas. Good luck. I'm gonna ult now.
Dude, where are they?
Dude, this widow, like, someone's gotta focus the widow. Oh, she's killing me. She's killing me. Guys, she's ulting me.
I don't see her.
I understand
She's
that,
ulting
but I'm
me.
trying my best, man. I can't be everywhere at once. It's either I fight the scroll girl in the back, or I help them fight the widow in the front, bro. It's like, what do we do here?
Our Luna ulted. That's great.
I mean, we might need to.
Storm is slow.
They have a storm?
I accidentally.
Yep.
Okay.
And I'm...
Trade healer for healer. And then your doodly dies, so you guys have no healer now.
Dude, I'm sorry. Why?
Which part?
Look at the stupid widow, dude.
I hate
Help,
how I
help me, please.
Trying to kill someone, no
Okay.
one noticed.
All right.
Oh, I was dead, my dude.
Matt, save your moon for this storm whenever she ults.
Bro, I need anybody to help me kill a single individual.
Dude, freaking, I'm getting pushed by the widow.
That's who I'm trying to kill, bro. Every time I'm fighting her, I'm just dying, bro. Because nobody's.
Bitch, I don't know where you're at, but he's behind.
I was coming
Behind.
around. I was coming around, guys.
Oh, can't help you with that one. You know why? Black
They went
Lizzo.
after.
Don't give it up.
Oh my god. Oh my gosh, your bubble! Device on point. That's on me. That's on me.
Don't chase her, bro. Stick to us. Like, stay to it with us, Rocks. Don't chase her.
Chase who?
This widow.
I'm not chasing Widow. I was walking after to heal Mad Moon, but then he died.
Bro, deadass, I don't know what happened. We capped the point. Someone said Widow's coming. I'm like, all right, let me look at Widow. I looked at Widow, got her to half. I died because nobody else was looking at Widow, even though you guys said look at Widow. I'm genuinely confused, bro. and then I died
30
on the
seconds
point.
before you attack. Get ready.
Pretty sure we were all dead by that point.
I was Doctor Strange's bitch ass was right there. Fucking someone else was right there. I don't know, bro. I don't know, man. Don't know what to say.
We'll do the team up inside. See how that works.
Right. So, when's our first date
The
again?
battle starts in 5, 4, 3.
Maybe someone
2,
needs to play a dive DPS.
All you need to do is capture the mission area. Got it?
Yeah, man, we
I
can.
don't think either Mamu or Tuco died. You know what? Maybe someone just needs to hurl a couple of nuts at her. You know?
I tried that.
Alright, see, I'm out with this. I'm out with this. Ready, see?
You can't hurl nuts at her close range, bro. Unfortunately.
Bro,
What the
The
fuck
map.
happened? Alright,
The
bro.
map.
I
the
ulted?
map just ate my ult, dude.
I genuinely ulted for who, bro? Okay.
Like, I freaking combined it with Step Bro's ult, and the map immediately fell down. Immediately.
Map said no bueno, bro. Not allowed. Okay.
Worst part is it actually hits them. That's the worst part.
I'm still on point. How the
Oh
fuck
my
did I-
god. Guys, the widow.
Yes.
I can't peek. I can't peek.
And
I can't
we.
peek. The widow. Okay.
Alright, where the fuck is Gambit, bro?
He's dead. He died
I know
first.
why. Ow. You know what? I'm just gonna switch
He was
Gambit.
getting shot by Widow. He was honestly just getting shot by Widow. I don't know.
I'm gonna go tank.
Go tank, I'll go DPS.
He has ult now.
Guys winning.
If y'all can kill her, yeah. What did he got? What did this dumbass just say, bro?
I don't know. He's saying apparently that he can kill Widow apparently.
If y'all can kill him, right? Or
But what is he gonna do, bro? Fucking his job?
Dude, she's behind it.
Healer dead.
she's behind. She's behind. She's literally behind. Hello. She's half. Oh my god, she's getting healed. I can't go after her. She's going up though. She's going up. Oh.
No, she's still
Oh, she's
behind
not.
you.
What are you guys saying right now?
We're good. We're good. Oh my god.
God, guys, I can't.
Advantage gained. I have spotted an enemy.
Dude, the only way to counter Widow is to get close, and even then, you can still headshot you, it's not sniper.
Yeah. Nice, thank you.
Healer dead.
Oh,
No,
Guys,
keep killing the killers, bro. Y'all be fine. Y'all win that.
Oh, I didn't even get in that, bro. What the fuck?
Those Widow's aim is crazy, brother. Holy fuck.
Yeah.
I
dude,
think she's secured.
y'all
You know,
win
like-
what? The Jeff ate us. The moment freaking the stranger me stepped foot on the
Yeah, I forgot.
point,
I don't have
yeah.
that team up. I'm using a different team up.
We must retreat.
Guys, I literally phased this out.
Awaken the rage of battle.
I just like so either this Widow is smurfing or
They're 100% smurfing because their team
Oh,
is
yeah.
not
Oh,
as
that's
much
fine.
level as
That's
her.
fine.
Like,
dude, I'm trying to save this Gambit.
like the fact that the team
Bro,
actually is
fuck the
acknowledging
Gambit,
that
bro.
being created is crazy.
What about? Oh, on the point.
Dude, the freaking Widow, every time I'm gonna kill her, I can't kill her.
Yeah.
She hits headshot plus headshot plus headshot plus headshot.
Yeah.
I'm dead.
I leave her half and I just die.
Damn.
There's
Damn.
something I can do.
I started killing the killers, but as soon as I killed Jeff or
Genuinely
the-
nothing
Widow
to
just
be
killed
done,
me.
bro.
Well, you can't expect to win them all.
For me.
Damn, T, they calling you out, bro. 35 final hits? Jesus Christ, bro.
Ow. That's a little suspicious. Suspicious. If I'm up ultimate,
Yeah, that's a level 21 account, by the way, on the Widow.
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
Just throw me in, bro. Just throw me in.
Sure. Level 21. 83% win rate on Widow, guys. 83% win rate. Oh, play Widow. They played Widow for 4.9 hours. Yeah.
Dude, I just don't get it. Like, come on.
Yeah, look at this. 47 final hits.
Your friends can't be that useless that you have to go on create a Smurf account just to help them rank up.
Hey,
whoa there, buddy. Whoa.
Support them.
Whoa.
You tell him. No, you tell him, T.
Yeah, they're I think they're trying to. They're in a trio. I think it's Love You and Bronx Sahar.
Yeah.
Love You, Bronx Sahar. Yep, it's Love You, Bronx Sahar. Yep.
Oh yeah, the guy who was talking mad shit is the one getting.
Yeah, obviously, bro.
Yeah.
No shit.
Is it negative behavior? Right? Yeah,
Yes.
for smurfing. Okay. Dude, Love You and Bronx Sahar. You guys did. I'm looking at these games that they're playing. Everyone in the lobby, no one gets above 10 final hits. This guy gets 35.
Yeah.
This guy gets 47. This guy gets. It's fucking ridiculous. Except for this game. Actually, they had a leaper.
This guy's reported for
and also
collusion,
this.
bro.
No, sorry, they're in a 4-stack. This Rize guy, Rize with the Japanese characters, the kanji and whatever. Yeah, they're in a 4-stack. What the fuck, these losers? So that's that 4-stack that you play against.
Yeah. Bro, the day they put proxy chat in this game is gonna turn to a COD lobby. They're never doing that, bro. This Raze guy's level 100, bro. Jesus, man.
Nah, this game is too toxic for them to do what like Overwatch does at the end, right? They allow you to all talk over shit.
Bruh.
At the end, like you enter, which I totally forgot that was a thing.
Bro, Counter-Strike used to have a like open chat in halftime when the sides were switching, and you could say anything you wanted for like 30 seconds. That shit was funny as fuck, bro. Now you can't even talk to them, bro. Why'd you cancel it?
We're spectating right now? What the fuck? No, it looks like they're only in a team of 3. I'm confused. No, it's 2 for that guy.
I think they're in a team of 3 right now, but I don't know what's going on with them.
Sorry, I kind of left because I wanted to make sure they got into a game because I don't want to fucking queue up into a game and go against them again. I'm good.
Understandable.
I am AO fucking K. Not being a game with these losers.
Yeah, honestly, just keep reporting them until we get into a match.
T, keep reporting. I need you to keep reporting, T.
I need to go wee.
Okay.
Will you be back in time? Oh, okay.
Go back.
Cancel it.
I mean, should we start it? I guess we could start it. You just
No.
won't be able to.
No. Oh no, I don't know how fast you can peek.
I guess you don't really need to accept in this game, you know?
T, this guy better have like 10 bans. Like 10 reports, sorry. Report that motherfucker. He's either smurfing or he's cheating. I'm too lazy to figure out which one.
He's not cheating because he was missing shots.
I mean, yeah, level 21 account, bro. He's just probably smurfing.
Smurfs.
Yeah, at least it will get people off my ass.
Like, that really pisses me off. It's freeze. Like, I understand creating a new account, if you want to play characters you don't play, and like rank up that way. But the characters you main on a freaking Smurf account, it's just awful. especially if you're boosting your team, bro. You're freaking helping your team. Your freaking friends are useless. They're pieces of trash, dude.
Yeah,
They're
like
worse than Browns
35
players.
final hits versus fucking the rest of the team had like barely 5, bro. What the fuck?
Yep.
Actually crazy.
Until you know there's cheating. Oh, I did it on purpose.
But
Alright, run it.
Welcome back. And it's a Smurf one. Not even. I swear to God, that man, you say shit, you say something, and I'm fucking timing you out.
This person, I've kept, by the way, reporting him ever since we finished the match.
Yes, that's what I
don't
like
know
to
how
hear.
much.
That's what I like to hear.
If
I don't
there's
know how
one
many I
thing the T likes to do, it's report when he thinks someone's fucking over his games. Like, bitch, you don't mess with my games. If I lose fair and square, okay? Don't come into my games and smurf or cheat, whatever shit.
Yeah. No, it really.
Remember that motherfucker that cheated in our game?
Yeah,
Phoenix?
that's why I don't play rank, because you're always gonna have those type of players, either the cheat or the smurf. That you never have a fair game. It pisses me off.
Are we sure it was a smurf? Because remember the first round we won. He was good, but he wasn't that good, was he? Like, am I crazy?
Thing is,
There's no way
he was getting he's getting picks, bro.
Yeah, I think it's just the rest of his team was just like severely lacking in the first half. Because like, I love you guy was just playing like dog shit. You were just like hoping that he could get carried.
The people he was queuing up with.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I'm assuming they weren't even like really playing the game. They were just like letting him try to carry by himself for the first round or something.
Dude, no. They were not playing at all. Like the first whole round, they were just talking.
Yeah, exactly.
They had so much free time. They were just texting, freaking talking there.
Yeah, they were texting because they knew. Oh yeah, he's gonna lock in or he's gonna turn on his cheese and then we're gonna win. Are we not banning?
Yeah, I mean he could have had walls maybe. Maybe not aimbot, but he could have had walls.
You didn't ban anything. You didn't ban.
What's up?
They're too busy complaining.
Maybe they're paying him to carry. I mean, they only have like a couple games together. They have like said like 11 wins. 11
Hella?
Oh no, he wants to.
Must have banned the hood. Okay.
Oh shit, yeah. My bad. See, I forget you're Bucky. My bad.
It's fine.
Or maybe they're paying. Yeah.
I understand the hate.
And of course.
They hate us because they ain't us, bro. Yo, you see our teammate's name, bro? It's right there, bro. Be hateful.
No, don't worry about it. I know why the hate is there.
I wish you could have like a revenge feature where you could play against the player you in the previous game.
Sorry. Totally should have been more.
Yeah, bro. Yo, Ice Bullet. Imagine if they called that a Marvel rival, bro. That'd be crazy. Okay, they didn't ban anybody this time?
Oh, they missed their ban.
Yo, it's like before the ban changes, bro. Holy.
Who are you calling a raccoon, huh?
Is this the city map? This is there we go.
Yeah.
You know what we should have done? We should have just stopped playing the game and hunted down that widow. Just, you know.
I tried, man. I tried, bro.
I killed her twice, but it wasn't worth it. You're running around her and trying to kill her while your team's getting fucked.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's either I try to get the squirrel girl in the front, or I go back and help with the widow in the back.
My
But
rivals aren't the people in front of me, but the ones next to me. Really
that was last game, guys. We lock in.
Yeah. We moved on, don't worry.
my rivals. Okay.
You as glad as
You gotta keep your enemies close, bro.
That motherfucker ain't banned.
He's gonna get banned for 15 minutes,
that
bro.
range on that shit. Look at that.
I'm sure there'll be
what?
plenty of
That
other
range
things
in
you
that.
can use those swords
Damn,
of
bro.
yours on.
Sometimes. Sorry.
The range of the melee, bro.
Battle starts in 5,
That's hard.
4, 3, 2,
Alright, where's our tanks? Where
I
are
would
our
think
tanks?
the widow.
I do the right thing unless the wrong thing is more fun.
Oh, Magneto's up there.
Someone's behind us.
Yeah, Black Cat.
She learned it. She's on top.
Good.
Oh, now I'm putting the hook in the black cat. Okay.
Yeah. There's like a quarter, like third. Yeah, I see. Like, never mind. All right, I meant like a quarter missing. No, it's 40.
Will you get this? That's up here?
Black hat time.
Black Cat's on my dick. Oh my god, not in a good way.
Just one tap.
Not in a good way.
He has the stilettos on. She's stomping.
Oh, who's behind us? Who's behind us?
There was
Absolutely.
yeah. I
Yeah.
thought we knew about that guy.
I loved her one frame. Amazing.
Her name is the Black Stud.
Okay.
Listen,
So,
all I know is, you know, we have a thing. They should be taking care of the black cat. That's all I know.
They just
That's
switched.
all I know.
Didn't they just switch?
They just
I don't.
switched.
I don't care.
Oh, they have a Black Widow on their team too, bro. Nice. Alright, hold it down, 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 hold it down.
Dude, he goes invisible and I can't track her after that.
Guys, I'm okay.
Oh, brother, I'm gonna die
He
here. I'm
went
dead.
invisible again, bro.
I'm dead. Okay.
Oh my god, I'm working on the thing, bro, but fuck.
We got ult on point. Just pray we can hold it down.
I'm not gonna make it easy.
Guys, I'm on point dying.
We're opening a portal. The Hateful is opening a portal as we.
Do not, do not, do not, do
Oh,
not.
We are
it's not worth it.
No, like,
Damn, bro.
oh my god.
What the fuck? I just got. Okay. I don't know why I did that. That portal was way too low.
More bad guys. Just what we need.
Better stop that vehicle.
Watch this spot.
We win this
Why is
next
up
fight,
there?
guys. Just group up
Watch
here.
this spot.
What's up
Yo,
there?
Thing, where you going, bro?
He's going after the blackhead. He's going after the blackhead.
Oh, okay.
Oh, come on.
This is real firepower. My good deed for the day.
Fighting the Widow and I get rushed by 3 people.
Help me. Oh, okay. I might need to switch
I'm
characters
sorry.
here. Let me try something different real quick.
We're staggering so bad, bro.
Yes.
Yeah. Do we have any ults for that? We have 4 ults. Okay, maybe we can do something. Hopefully, potentially. I'm getting cooked up. They're so pushed up though. Holy fuck.
I just popped. I just instantly popped. Holy fuck.
Yeah.
We're staggering bad.
Okay, thing ulted over there. Okay, I saw his body fucking fly. Yo, I'm out of there, man. Strange, I can't say
Yo,
anything.
yo, we're
body
staggering
fucking-
really bad. Yo, Thing,
I actually
man,
got
I'm
hit
telling
with
you,
that
bro, pull
combo.
up
I
here. Stay in
really
front, bro.
did. I really did.
Oh my god.
Concerning when I have
I'm going
these
back to
right
combo.
now, guys.
I'm gonna go back to
God.
that. That was working better.
This black cat is.
Yeah. Our anti-dive is lacking severely.
Alright, so you're gonna have to.
Oh,
deal with
that's not
black.
good.
Oh, I can't even.
Forget about receiving
I-
help. You're gonna have to deal with it yourself.
It's now or never.
The black cat?
Yes.
Well, then I'm just gonna end up dying. to be honest
This
with
like,
you.
the thing is not killing her, and every time she goes dive and runs away, she goes.
What is
invisible.
one shot, bro? Oh my
I'm
god.
pushing him, brother. I'm pushing.
There's no way he didn't die.
Undefeated.
Oh god. Oh god.
She's over here. She's on the side, guys.
Oh, I didn't mean to dash.
I'm sleeping.
Oh, Black Cat's
I'm
ulting back here.
into this.
He's dead. Okay.
Their Widow and this is dead.
Mantis
Widow
is
and
low.
Invis
Black Cat's low. I'm gonna die here. I'm dead here. Black Cat's one shot.
You ain't got rid of me. Relay deployed. It ain't cheap. I'll patch you up.
You maybe hold them a minute, it's winnable, bro.
Yeah, yeah. But we can hold him for 2 minutes and 30 seconds, bro. What do you mean?
Follow the enemy.
Mantis behind.
Follow the enemy.
Help me. I'm slept. I'm slept.
I'm sorry, I was reloading.
He's going with you. Don't worry about it.
Oh, I didn't realize she died, bro. Sorry, yeah, me paranoid.
She's up there. She's up there.
I thought that went away when she died.
Be careful. There's a black cat over there.
Yep, she's on top. She's still on top.
It's up top.
There she comes. She's running away.
It's low.
She's up there.
It's still low. With you. Things back. Okay, they're running. They're running.
Widow's half. Widow's half. Widow's half.
Okay, we have 3 ults coming up.
Thing.
Stagger them as best as possible. Almost coming around.
Nice double kill. Thank you guys. Thank you. Why do we have both pun and blade pushing?
Black cat, black cat, black cat, black cat.
I think it's just who they want to play.
Black cat is going around all the way.
Yeah, black cat's over here. On the roof. I'm gonna see if I can get her.
She's pushing up. She's pushing up behind.
She's running away.
On the roof. Oh, never mind.
Dude, I hate that she goes invisible.
Multi.
Thinking there was
I'm
no
slapped.
need to
I'm
give her
slapped.
that.
I still die. Oh my god, no, no,
Widow's
no.
dead. Widow's dead.
Did not see that one coming.
Yeah.
Staying on point. Staying on point. Staying on point.
Didn't I just kill Mantis? Oh, she has to add.
Yeah, the Adam team up, yeah.
Guys, there's a hood on point.
Someone's close up top. A cat on me. Never mind, she dead.
I'm with you.
Yeah. Need
I
that,
just
need
realized
need
we
that
had
protection,
fucking
bro.
Oh my gosh. Hi, Lee.
Oh, you
Hello, hello.
like you
How
didn't
are
think he was banned or
How's
something?
life? How's everything?
You thought he was banned?
Brother, yeah.
Bro, we only banned 4 people this whole match, bro.
Yeah, or each team missed 1 ban. They want to make it fair.
Perfect precision.
Black cat's
away.
getting perfect. Dude, come
Black
on.
cat up top.
Come on. Come on. Why me? Fuck these people.
Black cat's chasing you. The portal.
Come on, we almost have like 4 or 3 ults.
I'm getting chased by black cat still. Oh, that's not good. That's not good. I'm gonna turn around, bro. Please, black cat.
I turned around to heal you. You ran behind the thing.
Well, I mean, she ulted. I was trying to fucking fight for my life, too. You know.
We're good. We hold it 3 minutes in that.
Yeah.
Current score
Almost at our ults.
Anyways, hi Lee. How are you? How's life? How's everything?
Time to switch things up, including which side you're on.
Stay on no more loser. I dare you.
Why the hell are people being so aggressive and ranked, my guy?
I don't know. I don't know what's going on over here, bro. These people need therapy, bro.
Straight up. You freaking therapy.
Y'all did good. Yeah.
I just switched to him, bro, too. Like, damn.
Y'all did good.
My bad.
Y'all, all of us did good, right? All of us did so good.
I went.
Yeah, be hateful, bro. That guy sucks, man. I have 9 eliminations and less than 4,000 damage.
Devin, why are you saying that shit?
Why? What did I say?
Like, be hateful suck.
What kind of
It does suck.
do you think they got on Krakoa anyway?
Yeah. Yeah. Just that guy.
Yeah. Just that guy.
No. I love how Stebro and T are both laughing with me. I'm like,
What happened?
The battle starts in 5.
You talking mad shit?
That's our team, bro. That's our team, bro. Come on, man.
Yeah, bro.
yeah, I'm gonna talk shit about my team. I'm gonna call y'all out. You know, when you need to be called
Dude,
out.
I'm
You know?
freaking trying my best to get the black hat, but it's just like, no, let the
It's
invisible
okay. We got the
thing
no
is-
more now. We got the no more now. Hopefully,
It
from
should
off
not
rip it'll help.
exist.
Yeah, the invisible like shit
Oh,
is
the
just
Widow's
fucking
still low.
stupid, bro. There's no reason
That
she should be able to do that.
Back hat from behind. Right here. Coming.
Where? I
Coming.
see her.
She's on. She's everywhere. She's in there already, bro. She's out of there
And
already,
she's
bro.
running away.
Wait, do we have a hood? Oh, we
Yeah,
have a
yeah,
hood?
yeah, yeah.
Oh, wait. Why? I would have changed the hood.
Black Cat's back, Black Cat's back, oh, Black Cat's back, Black Cat's back. I'm dead.
Where?
Sorry.
Turn around, bro. Turn around, bro.
I just turned around. She's not there.
Bro, she's like fucking Black Panther, bro. You can't even ping her half the time, man.
I hear this bitch. I hear her. The motherfucking heels. The motherfucking heels. The motherfucking heels. This bitch and her motherfucking heels.
You good?
She's still alive? Oh, she's still alive.
Oh, she's still alive. She's still alive. Sorry.
Yeah, I was like, is it safe to put my beacon back there? But I don't know, man. In this economy.
You freaking Black Cat is just...
She's back there, she's back there.
Yeah,
Help, help, help.
Here, bubble, yo.
I'm in it, don't worry.
Too fast for me, bro.
Yeah.
Nice,
She's here.
I'm dead.
see her. She's half and she run away.
She's here.
Oh, that's not good.
Oh,
That's
come
right,
on.
Okay.
That was perfectly timed, dude. That was perfectly timed.
We can kill
back
Cloak,
here, guys.
nice. Cloak's dead.
She's around.
I have my ult if we need it.
She's dead.
Nice. Okay, she's probably has her ult though. I don't know if I heard it.
No, she has her ult. She hasn't used
Yeah,
it.
no time for that one. Nice. Keep it pushing.
I see him immune.
So, Luna on the left.
Yeah, and the dagger as well.
Got that over there, man.
Put the beacon back in 2 seconds. Dropping the beacon.
Their support's pretty low. Oh, Cloak is one.
Behind us, T. Where the fuck did she go?
Where?
In front of us. Oh my god.
She's slow.
I ulted. Panic ult.
My god.
Where? Where did you ult? Oh, back there. Holy fuck, man.
Panic ult, bro.
Holy fuck.
Dude, Bad Moon and me were turning around like crazy trying to look.
Turn around for half a second, she's invisible again, and then she ends up in between us.
Kill the healer.
Deadass a horror movie with Black Cat, bro. I don't even know what else to say, bro. Jump scare gameplay.
Oh, the whole.
Push up to the front of the cart real quick so I can see you better. Okay, thank you.
Bro, not me.
Where is she shooting from? What?
Up top.
You got killed by the hood.
I got killed by.
No, fucking
felt
Widow
weird
also
sometimes.
ulted too, I think.
I thought it was her. Dude, I didn't know he could aim downward. Sorry, I thought he could only look up.
I blame
Help.
That's on me.
Okay, we're good. Oh, bro, come on, man. Come on, man.
I blame Stepper, bro. I blame him.
There is a Black Cat right here.
I know, I
fuck
know.
you. I saw you, bitch. I saw your ass. Bitch, suck my actual. Anyways, continue.
I'm so
Nah.
She's coming.
Yep, I hear her. Where she is, though, that's the question.
Don't matter getting the ult. Don't matter getting the ult. Go Magneto. Nice.
Pull out Luna. Luna's almost dead.
My cat's up there somewhere.
Luna's almost dead. She almost died.
Bro, she can be invisible, bro. Oh my god. She's moving.
Dude, I saw her right here. Where the hell did she go?
She's moving, bro. She got like 3 dashes, bro.
She's one. Don't worry about her. She's running away. Don't worry about her.
I do worry. I don't want to be a.
Let me worry about her. Yeah. Focus in front.
Yeah, I mean, I'll let you worry about her until I'm worrying about her for half a second before I'm dead, bro.
There we go. She's almost dead.
Nice. Waste the ball.
Okay, they wasted that shit. Okay, that's a Black Cat ult right there.
We spawn on top. It's fine.
Listen,
Yeah,
I'm
that
not
was
gonna
fine.
lie. I don't like the fact I switched to.
You think this is bad? Try Dead by Daylight. The game is so salty. My rivals aren't the people in front of me, but the ones next to me. What I say? Oh my god, that was very forgiving.
Oh, come on. How did she not die there?
Holy shit. I was so...
We got this one.
Again?
Don't die from that. Holy fuck, bro. Yeah. This guy's 49 and 7, bro. What the fuck?
Yeah, their entire team is just out there putting insane amount of damage and kills, bro.
Well, you know...
It's not over.
The anti-dive we had for the first round wasn't anti-diving, you know? Wasn't really doing much anti-dive.
okay. We got 3 minutes or 2.5 minutes. Black Cat's on the left side, back here. Right here, please. Right here, please. On the staircase to the left.
That's it. That bro said let him worry about it. So
I mean, I'm letting him know, bro. He pushed up. She's on the point.
Oh, I'm dead. I knew it. I was like, if I don't get behind this thing, I'm dead. It's fine. It's fine.
Follow him. Follow him. And the Widow pulled it.
Black Cat on point. Black Cat behind. Black Widow in front.
Oh yeah, she's looking at me.
Not in a good way. Not in a good way. Okay, hold on. Widow's dead. I'm dead. I'm dead. Range low. Range low. Okay. You can push that vault. Roxy also has ult. You go first.
Me? Okay.
No, you go first because they'll destroy it and then we can answer. They'll answer to yours.
Okay, well, I'm gonna put it like around here whenever they're up close, so we can corner them. If they push from the corner, they might go up top.
This is real firepower.
Hold slow.
I got a pick.
Nice. Good block.
Still got him.
Okay, Black Cat behind. Low. You running?
Well, she's not low anymore.
Yeah. Someone's up.
Wait, give a sec.
Fuck, I was about to kill that.
Okay.
Good answer.
He's up there, by the way.
Thing's low.
Low.
Hood's low.
I'm low. The hood's low. Black Cat.
Okay. I dropped the beacon. Hopefully you can hold it down. Nice. Holy fuck.
Holy fuck.
They didn't believe in us, bro.
I was out, bro. I was going to fucking ult that, bro.
There's no reason as a rocket I should have 23.
Time to switch things up, including which side you're on.
Genuinely?
The right heroes could make all the difference.
No reason why Rocky should have 23.
Dude, I have 24,000 damage done. I'm
I have 7,800 damage done, bro.
And I almost have the same amount of blocked.
I have more damage blocked than I have damage done, bro. I have 10,000 damage blocked as a rocket, bro. They don't like me.
Damn, bro, why are they so mad?
That's it.
Were they mad at?
Thanks for the tip. You're not doing shit. That's step, bro.
That's step, bro.
All you guys know how to play is spam characters.
Really?
Us?
Really?
Us?
Talking about the person that's playing.
Bitch, shut the fuck up.
They'll be coming in 30 seconds.
Who is?
All you know what to do is play spam characters. Half our
That's
team
the
is the
Luna,
exact
that's the
Oh, it's the
copy.
Luna.
Shit.
Okay.
Yeah. Nah, bro, that's just anything to win, bro. That's it. It's just anything
You
to
gotta
win.
push forward a bit here.
Whatever it takes to win, dude. That's all.
Don't stay too back.
Tell her who tanks were up here.
Yeah, our tanks be up
Like,
there,
I
bro.
understand one of you being up there, but two? Oh, hell.
Oh, the Widow slow. On the top. Hood. 2 tanks. Yeah, the thing in the hood on top. Oh, they have an Elsa.
Oh, they have an Elsa?
I did not expect that from the thing. I just jumped on me. I'm dead again.
That's not ideal.
Yeah, no, that Elsa is just gonna be annoying.
Oh, fuck. I'm cooked.
Well,
I'm
there's no longer a
so
Black
cooked.
Cat, so I might as well.
Yeah. They're on Widow and Elsa now?
No Black
Okay.
Cat.
Bro, why were both
bro,
of
can
y'all
you switch
tanks out
off?
there, bro?
Can you switch off? I don't fucking know. Our hood went up there. It was just our hood. and
No, they
then
were both up there. They were both up there.
Yeah, no, the strange came down. Strange came down when the game started. Our strange.
LMAO Widow. Elsa behind.
Oh, I got trapped.
Your shit step. Keep pushing. Just push point, please.
The thing.
I'm trying to heal on point as best as possible.
Thing dead. 1 tank. Tank low.
Alright, we got this. Keep this.
Keep on point.
This shit.
There,
I'm holding down the point with the thing. Okay, nice. Team up.
It's nice, but we have to push.
It's winnable. Pretty
It's
far.
winnable, but
We got a minute and 38.
squad you're on.
Dude,
We didn't even get to
all
ult. We'll get to ult on our round
Need a
for sure.
top-notch team
Yeah.
to win this one.
Dive is
Dive
easy,
is-
little bro. You tell him, bro.
Fucking killed him 2 times back to back, bro.
You're still garbage.
Bro, this Luna is so mad.
Widow cheating? Really?
Hmm.
That's what Ben Me thinks.
Apparently.
I don't think that will. Oh,
I mean-
can't say shit. No,
I mean,
the only reason why I'm saying that I don't.
I
think
watched the
that Widow's
replay.
cheating,
Guy
I
was running
killed
into a
this-
wall, headshotting across the map. Really?
Hey,
Maybe she's
yo.
now.
Hey,
Because the first
yo.
round, I killed that Widow multiple times. Because that Widow does not know.
Maybe the Widow toggled.
No,
bro.
that, yeah, that's
Or
what I
maybe
was
they turned
gonna
on their
say.
cheats. Maybe they turned
The
on
Widow.
That's what
the
toggling
Widow's
means.
actually bad. She's bad, but
Unless my replay is
still-
cooked. You think that what? What did you say? Oh, cute. You can go back like that.
He just needs to stop fighting themselves. Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true. Okay, guys, I believe in all of you. I believe in all of you. Make sure you look at their comp and switch if you need to switch. Okay.
Okay, so after this, let's go watch the Widow gameplay and see if he's right or not. Cause
I don't
No,
think
his aim was crazy.
2,
Mm.
1.
the Widow isn't really like a really big problem though. That's the thing. But I will say that yeah, maybe who knows? 'Cause look at that, he's slow. The hood's slow.
they have a dino now.
Yes, they do.
I'll patch you up. Ping the bad guy.
Guys, I need healing, please.
Oh,
I'm dead.
sorry.
Sorry.
I'm just dying.
This is
No,
what-
she popped me,
literally
bro.
trying
I
to
backed
kill
him up, but she popped me. Fuck.
Good, man.
For now.
There is a Elsa on the side.
Yeah. As long as she's not on my
I
side.
can't heal you in there. Dude, why are you standing in the fucking dino's shield? What?
No, they had a trap in there. Wow.
Oh, Elsa.
Yeah, with the dino team up though, that's fucking.
Yeah, they're team up maxing for sure on that one.
I'll patch you up.
Get that vehicle moving again.
I'm knocking it out.
I need a brawl with y'all. I need a brawl with y'all.
Bro, that also is half health.
Down to 30 seconds.
What's up with these fucking traps, bro?
Does she get 2 traps? They have a huge area. It's so dumb.
That also might ult surf on that.
This is a nice spot.
Rocket turret destroyed.
Patch you up.
Also on the back, purple.
You broke my beacon. Oil.
Also on the side.
Yeah.
Also low.
Oh my god, I got sniped by Widow. I almost had my ult. If you guys can hold it for like
Fuck, I
30
needed some
seconds.
He's dead.
Sorry, can't do anything.
I think our
Roxy almost has all. Roxy almost has all. Roxy
I'm
ult.
ulting. I'm ulting. I'm ulting. I'm off the point though.
Purple on the Elsa. She's behind the hood.
Behind.
Yep, there it is. Wait, what?
No. No way.
Guys,
Live.
no.
Oh, that's not good.
Do we portal? Do we have a portal?
We should.
No, Be Hateful's alive. We have no portal.
Oh, he's still
Oh my
up.
We're not dead.
No.
No, I dashed and they moved. Wow.
Score 3, 2, 1.
Nice C9, bro. What do you, bro? We died. What are you talking about? C9.
Well, you can't expect
No, I'm
Oh, you
actually
C9?
fine.
I mean, it was
Yeah,
just
I
you,
dashed.
bro. It was just you, bro.
I dashed to kill the killer, and this I don't know what the fuck. I think I missed it, dude.
We tried.
Their healers weren't even good.
Bro, this guy played 4 supports, bro. I don't know what he's like
I
yapping
died
about.
14 times. Got so lucky with that ult. Yeah, she did. She timed it properly. Wait until I ult to do that. The thing is, okay. God, that hurts.
Maybe switch to Luna team up when it goes to overtime.
I don't know. Probably, but then at the same time, the hood team up is just with all my sheets and whatever. It's better, especially if you guys shoot through it. That's the key thing. You guys gotta shoot through it.
Why is there a Toyota ad on your stream, bro?
That fucking kills me.
AdSense, bro. They trying to make some money, bro.
A Toyota Tacoma, bro.
What's wrong with Toyotas? I love Toyotas.
I like Ram better, which is dog shit, but I like their body.
Not even the same category, bro.
I like their body, bro. Their body is nice.
You are now eligible to get Elsa Blitzstone costume. Fuck off, Twitch. I don't want anything to do with that bitch. That bitch needs to die.
All right. You're right, though. You're right. She does.
How been we've been on a losing streak.
Oh, I know. We've won 0 comp games. 0.
Yeah, it happens. It happens. I'm at -1 right now.
I'm 2 out of 100.
I'm at -1 out of 100.
I'm -18.
I'm also in platinum 2, by the way. So.
Don't worry, Step Bro is now Diamond 3. So.
I'm about to be plat 1.
Yeah, we got Beast Boy on the team. And we got Sea of Men. Okay, Seaman on the team. Let's go.
I love how you said Sea of Man.
Oh,
that is his name. Sea of Men.
I'm into another. Why am I doing this to myself? Wow, you're doing so good, lol. Shut the fuck up, Ruby. Go make your fucking natas. Okay, go enjoy your empanadas.
Jesus Christ.
Ruby Mexican?
Wait,
they just said they were making empanadas. I don't know if you gotta bring race into this, guys.
We don't.
You know what's worse than a Mexican?
Oh, Elsa? Shit. No.
Spaniard? I don't know.
2 of them.
Oh, 2 of them? Okay. I was about to be like the ones that colonized the country. I don't know. Alright, Elsa ban, Black Cat ban. Alright, I'm liking where we're going so far.
Man, doesn't that mean they're not playing Black Cat?
Fucking team.
It's okay.
I already finished making
no.
those things for my
I
sister
think we
devoured
played
them.
enough games today that we know, right? We know who to ban, right? We know.
I hope we know.
Black Widow?
Widow? Okay. Gambit? 2 redheads.
Yo, see it, man. If that shit goes through, you're gonna see some men.
Huh?
Please stop.
You got lucky, bro.
The right heroes could make all the difference.
Are you okay?
I already finished making those and devoured
Ban is wild.
my sister devoured them. Widow ban is wild.
Yep.
Empanada's gone, bro.
And my sister devoured them. Damn,
No
torta.
sharing.
Shit.
No sharing. Bitch, did you just hit your mic? I heard that thunk. Fucking just hit his mic.
This bro's laughing too hard at his own joke.
I didn't hit my mic. I said torta.
You said torta, and then I heard a bump
Yes,
at the
that
end.
was T.
Oh, T, did you hit your mic?
What?
I was.
Not T. It was mad.
Bro, it wasn't me, bro.
It was Steph. It was
I
Steph.
swear to God, it was one of y'all.
Steph,
Yeah,
bro.
check the VOD, bro. My hands didn't even move, bro.
Check the VOD. Crazy.
T, was that you?
No.
Actually, no, I don't think it was T.
It was definitely Step, bro.
Oh, guys, I have the hood team up so on.
Okay. Oh, we're selling? Okay, fantastic.
Shut the fuck up, bitch, okay?
Okay.
We know what we're losing now, guys.
Ah, yeah, because I have the hood team up. You guys can't fucking shoot through a fucking sheet? Okay.
Whoa. Hey, so much language, bro.
What's language?
Here it comes.
And,
Here comes the Crimson Chin.
Nice.
dang, I'll kill that motherfucker. They have a Spider-Man? Is that a Spider-Man in here?
They have dead bodies on the floor, bro. They have multiple bodies on their back line. Fucking stupid, bro. Why would you do that? Aw. Oh, there you go. That's what we need to see. Oh. Dagger's killing people, bro? What the fuck is happening?
Oh, kill me, give me rock, kill me.
And this is low, and this is running.
Someone up there.
That's great.
He's so low.
Another dead. Another one dead.
Another one bites the dust.
And trying to get the venom from not going in, and he went for me instead.
Can somebody like help me over here a little bit? I'm trying to kill any support ever. I'm trying to kill the supports though, and they keep running back. I can't like I don't have the range.
I'm trying to hope.
Okay, Invis is dead. Invis is dead. Nice. We did something. Range is gonna. Yeah, just gonna wait here.
Someone's behind. There's a Spider-Man over here.
I didn't like oh.
It's fine. You have a Namor with you. He can handle it.
Yeah, I'm telling him to turn around.
Oh, buddy. Absolutely bullied in the corner. I know, I tried to throw the fucking Angela team up, but it hit the fucking shield, and I was like, yo, where'd it go? Get this Venom Bozo out of here real quick. Oh, he ulted, never mind.
Oh.
I was about to have 1,000,000 and 1 health, bro.
No, is this guy about to?
Okay, both your healers are dead, by the way. Both your
Everybody's dead. Everybody's dead, by the way.
Yeah.
Alright, honestly, we held it for like 2 minutes, and it barely moved, so... I think we just, run it back? They're not gonna get the point. We're gonna make it. We're gonna make it.
Actually, no.
Spider-Man switch. You're welcome, guys.
Oh, Spider-Man, what did you switch to? Moon Knight or Fantastic? I don't even know which one he was.
Yeah, Moon Knight.
Oh, no,
Or Fantastic? I don't know. Someone.
I think it was Moon.
Oh, there is an invis. There is an in-fucking-bitch.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right. I called her in-bitch. That's right.
In-bitch?
Yeah.
Yo, I need. Okay.
It's all good. It's all good.
I have, well, where's...
Oh, counter that, please.
I can't.
Oh,
no.
you're dead.
Dude, I thought the rocket would fucking ult first. What's our rocket doing?
Oh, he's just hiding, bro.
What?
Braxy, never
trust a second support,
random
though, you know?
You count on randoms to do good things.
Oh my god, I count on randoms to do decently smart things, you know?
Yeah, that's the
Do
problem.
their fucking job.
They're brain dead.
That is literally it through there.
Of course, and then the fucking raccoon died. He's already dead. He's not okay.
How is he dead?
Oh, brother.
How is he, again, how is he dead? He wasn't fighting anyone.
He, Moon Knight threw an onk and shot at him and he didn't move.
You can't tank this as
Thor, bro?
Dude, I have been trying to use my ult, and every time I go in,
Emma's like not doing anything, bro.
Like for me to ult,
See a
like,
man? You think See a man was gonna do something?
With me?
I thought so, bro.
You really thought so?
I really did, bro.
Oh, behind Venom.
Fantastic, bro.
Venom.
Very good, Venom. Okay, ult on that one. Okay, double ult, nice. I mean, double ult as in 2 of our ults. That's.
Oh, come on.
Fantastic dead.
What?
Don't worry. Hold it down.
He
Hold it down.
ulted?
Oh, he didn't ult. He didn't ult. Sorry, I meant double as in like 2 of our ults at the same time. He hasn't ulted yet, though. He still hasn't ulted. I don't know when he's gonna do that, but hopefully.
One tap right now. I don't know where she is, though.
Look at the Strange.
Look at Strange.
Invis.
Look at me, bro. Look at me.
Oh my god. I'm getting focused here, bro.
I'm dead.
Bro,
where the fuck is Rocket? If I swear to God, if I look at Rocket and he's 3
No, he's there. He's
Rocket,
there.
bro, what's
he's
going
right
on,
at the
man?
door. He's gonna die. He's gonna. Okay. I don't. And he died again to the.
Dude,
I think this Rocket is throwing. I genuinely just think.
There is actually
I have not seen him in game.
He has 8 assists somehow, so he's pressing some
Yeah, that's
buttons.
at the beginning. At the beginning, he was doing shit, but now he's not.
Hey, Rocky, are we gonna hold the ult for next round? Just my question, though.
What is this, bro?
Who are you pinging? You are pinging?
Oh, great. Oh, great.
I have point. I have the point. I have the point. I have the point. I have the point. Well, kind of. Almost. Oh, I almost had it. The 3 of them on the point, though. I don't know where the rest of them.
That's fine. 2 of them died.
Yeah, I got one. I got Bucky with my ult, but he's gonna be back before me.
Yeah, I guess Rock is just not gonna. Oops, I'm about to build my second ult.
Nice.
nice.
That was
Nice.
beautiful.
That was so beautiful. I love hearing that. I love hearing that. I love.
All right. Let's calm down.
I know Rock is hard for real. All right. This motherfucker just.
Brother, you've had 3 ults already, and the Rockets hasn't used one, bro.
Everybody's had like 3 ults, bro. Rocket's just holding it from the first point still.
I'm going back.
Is he getting? Has anybody gotten revived? By the way, I got revived once, but I don't know. That was at the beginning. That was at the beginning of the game. Hey, Bucky. Never mind. Hold it down. Hold it down instead. Absolutely hold it down.
Okay, I got revived.
Oh, he ulted.
Oh, he ulted.
That was
right in front of the whole team.
That was good. That was still a good out.
Oh my god. Oh my god, what's happening? What's happening?
Don't worry about it. Just stay alive.
I'm dead. I'm dead.
Oh, what the fuck?
Okay, Bucky did. Oh, Bucky got the reset on who, bro? Where the fuck did that? Oh no, my lag. I thought I made it up there.
We're fine.
Oh wait, I still haven't changed this stupid thing.
Oh, good night, Red Ball.
Talk to the way back there.
Night, Red Ball. Night.
Don't give him resets. Don't give him resets, bro. Stay.
I'm going around and I'm ulting on them from the top right now. Okay, they used ice form. They used a fucking nice. Okay, good.
He has it already again.
Yep, staying here. He comes. I'm dead.
And this is one shot. Oh fuck, I fucked up.
Reloading. I'm trying.
Dude, there's no way this Brock is healing. I'm sorry. There's no way this Brock is healing, bro.
Oh, there's so many people. Sorry, I didn't realize how many people there fucking were here, bro.
Like, I'm not feeling the healing.
No, Rocket's definitely lacking on that for department, bro.
I almost have ult, guys. I'm trying to build a vault here.
Stream child.
Ulting!
We can see your ult. Calm down.
You can't be calm in a situation like this, bro.
Oh my god, no.
It's okay. They lost support.
Dude, we're all dead.
It's literally just you.
Oh, I know. I said that before I realized 4 of you died. I was saying it like as I saw this.
Guess who had ult?
See him. Oh, Beast Boy.
He ulted one time, right?
He did. Yeah, he did.
Right?
Including which
Yeah.
side you're on.
So
He's a lord too.
He's a lord. He has to know how to play Rocket. Yeah, that's ice. That's not even an excuse, bro.
You know how easy it would be for me to go in if he would ult with me?
If he would heal us.
Brother, it's not even like he's getting dive. I'm fucking up that
Ice, you can't be saying that. You can't be saying that. This motherfucker has Lord Rocket. This motherfucker has 20 hours on this bitch. You're not gonna sit here and say, oh, he doesn't know how to fucking play healer. At the very least, go DPS Rocket. At least show like you're doing shit. No, this motherfucker, every time I die, I'm watching what he's doing. He's just sitting there. He's sitting there, doing nothing. And then he dies to the Moon Knight immediately after.
Bro, I think he's holding fucking ult for like next round, next game at this point.
Yeah, I don't know, bro. Oh,
he ulted once and that ult was in front of the car and for the whole team.
It helped though. It didn't die, so at least it kind of helped. It was bad positioning, but good timing at least. I guess. I'll give him that. But one ult in the whole time, like he had the ult from the first fucking point, bro.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. That's really mean. I'm sorry. You're not the problem.
Cause he's not even getting dived because I'm killing the fucking Venom.
Yeah, no. Every time everybody's dead, you just see him hiding by himself, bro.
No, even when Venom is diving, I'm there healing him. I'm healing him. And I'm
They have a Spider-Man. They have a Spider-man.
I'm the one also killing motherfucker. He's useless. Is a Spider-Man.
Yeah.
No, I'm just reminding you. Don't worry. Not
Yeah.
just a nice reminder, you know.
Yeah.
Since you're only competent healer, you know.
Yeah. Oh, I'm getting my ass beat. Oh, thank you. W Magneto.
Body behind, couple. Body one.
Oh my god, I died.
Oh my
what
god.
What the fuck was that? I was grabbed and whatever shit.
Fantastic dead. I am.
Am I low?
Did you hit me with that still?
I'll revive guys.
Nice one. It's good.
You revive.
Hold it down. Emma's low.
Nah, fuck. I backed him up.
I miss low. And with one tap. Dead.
Nice.
Kill him.
Alright, let's go.
Dash on him, bro. Dash on him. Yeah.
I didn't want to waste a dash. I only had one hammer left. So either I throw it or I...
Okay, they went back to Winter Soldier.
There's someone here.
Look
Someone's here,
at their
guys.
Main, bro. It looks like Winter Soldier's my main character they play.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh my god.
I'm gonna die here. They're all in that corner, though. Like, genuinely? Y'all can just bully them into that corner until they're dead.
Nah, they moved.
I'm gonna have a fight ult here.
I'm gonna have ult too.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Okay, Magneto.
I tried to kill her.
Actually ulted.
Okay, I mean, CMN got one of them.
Actually ulted.
Got the wrong support, but you got ice support. I'll take it.
He's actually doing his job now.
Oh my god, bro. She's like in my blind side.
How the inner demon is about to come out of Roxy. Oh no, he's actually doing work now.
Okay, you about to see that Fox demon come out of Roxy, bro.
They win Hawkeye?
Yeah. Oh, Jesus Christ, yo. What did they pull me with? Oh, Invis and Strange.
On the other side, Strange.
What battle can continue
I don't even know what's happening. I don't know what's
The contesting point, just, you know, stay safe.
Oh, we're dead. Actually, you guys have rocket. You have rocket.
Yeah, we're dead. We're dead.
Sorry, I should have ulted that.
Nah, it's fine.
Oh
I was just so confused what was happening.
Don't ult it.
Oh my god. I'm gonna die here again. Freaking Hawkeye sniping from a distance, too.
Your attacks are futile. Much better. To battle again. The world's battle fury burns.
This Hawkeye is really annoying.
Yeah.
I'm seeing you guys lose so much health. Oh, this bitch wanted me and only me.
Hawkeye's dead.
What the?
Help.
Sorry, we're dying to.
Okay.
Emma ulted us.
All good. Don't worry. I'm gonna do better. I'll do better.
I think I'm just gonna ult into this guy. Okay?
No. Don't.
How stupid me.
Oh, she froze it though, but I got one. I got to heal it.
Emma's dead.
Nah.
Went after Hawkeye real quick. Hawkeye's dead.
Only
Oh, force that. I'm on the point. I capped the point. I'm capping the point. I capped the point. Just chill back there. Push up if you can. Okay, just save Roxy.
He ulted. We really only.
Push him with me. I'm with you.
Okay, I'm just gonna. Oh, that's not good.
There we go. She's dead.
Body block. Emma's dead.
There we go.
Hawkeye's low. He fucking parried my shit real quick, but it's all good.
There we go. Push it.
I'm chasing. Hawkeye's dead.
Push back, Fitz.
Luna's low. I'm dead. Oh, I'm still alive. Thank you. Holy
I got you.
I thought I was dead there, bro. I thought it was Jover.
No, I'm pushing him.
Matt Moon, you know I'm hella, right?
Good pull.
Yeah. You want me to switch for the team up? I mean, like, I
That's up to you. That's up to you.
feel like, you know, the Angela team up's kind of
You've been
good for
hella
me.
this whole time. Oh, up here, up here. Fantastic.
Yeah, but I like the Angela team up more just because I have mobility with it. And I can kind of, I don't need to rely on a hammer for movement.
Emma, here we go. Fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. Here we go.
Point's really far back, guys, by the way. I'm just gonna stand there for a bit.
Yeah,
Nah,
because for some reason this rocket.
Both healers dead, both
decided-
healers dead.
Oh, it's good, it's good.
Oh shit, why is the card all the way back?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It didn't.
Because
It
the
wasn't even
rocket
past the
decided to
corner.
get off point and try and push with us. Bitch, you are useless. You are fucking
wouldn't
useless.
even
Get the fuck back on
anymore.
point.
Okay, it's okay.
You useless bitch. You are a heart princess. That is where you should be staying. you dumb
Princess. I'm ulting on them. They cloaked it. They're still on the back burner though. A lot of them low. They're opening a portal. Oh, yeah, I mean, you heard what I said, bro.
I'm dead. I'm dead. I'm dead. But I got revived.
Oh my god, bro.
I'm
You want that kill, huh? You're just misplacing her, and I'm fucking.
You saw that?
I'm missing, and you're misplacing her, bro. I was like, okay, it's my kill. I guess not.
I mean, I'm just trying to be a distraction for the healer, you know. It's really, I'm just trying to be a nuisance, bro. As long as they're not healing, you know, it's all good for me.
Wait, they went the Hella No More team up. That's why I'm doing. Oh no, they just went No More.
No more hell doesn't exist anymore. And now it's hella no more.
It's just, it's a one-way thing, yeah. I guess.
Oh, okay. I forgot.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay.
Aeroxy, does the hood team up blind people when you use your healing skill also? If you walk through it, yes. That's on me. I should heal that up.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. No, 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 no. Oh, they fucked me with the pull, bro. No way. Pull and blind at the same time? I can't do shit.
Dude, those things hurt. Those things really hurt.
We got a TP, we got a TP. Somebody has TP.
Let me switch. I'll switch.
Magic is not the only invisible force in
I'm
play.
gonna go.
30
Yeah.
seconds.
I'm opening a portal.
You gotta be fast, you gotta be fast.
It's up, it's up, it's up.
Venom down, Venom down.
Oh, Jesus Christ, bro. It's not safe here, bro.
T. Guys, I'm trying to keep
No,
you
go
alive.
through! Go through!
I was already beyond that point, dude.
Dead.
No winner yet. Going to overtime.
Rocket, bro. Damn.
Okay.
Final score 2-2.
Okay, thank you, because I didn't know how I was getting blinded by her. Yeah, if you walk through her thing, because it stays and whatever, if you walk through it, you get blinded.
Well, you can't expect to win them all.
I mean, yeah, it's singles for the hood team up.
35,000
Yeah, that's what
only?
we're talking about the hood team. Yeah, that's what we're talking
What?
Oh my god, I'm
cooking.
cooking 20.
I was cooking.
about.
Negative 18.
Why are these games so bad?
I could have done more, guys.
It's hard, bro. It's hard, man. You got one.
If I would have timed it with my rocket, like I could kill through.
What rocket,
I
bro?
told you your rocket. Your
Twice.
rocket that ulted when? When did you
Yeah,
ult
I
rocket?
know, but that's what I'm saying. If I could have timed it with him, I could have killed through ults with my
I should have
ult.
healed more. That's on me. I was making fun.
But I was getting that cloak out of her ult. Like I think I did it like twice, I believe. So it's not that bad.
Pressing.
Oh. Yeah, I should have just gone through the portal. I was just already in front of the portal and it's like, whoever, sorry. That's on me. I left you guys with the rando.
Yeah, I jumped to the portal,
That's
immediately invis ulted, and I'm like, oh shit. And then I saw all the squids around me. I'm like, yeah, it's all
either way,
good.
we had no response to that, to be honest with you. Yeah, but I should have done it. I should have just been there. That's on me. My apologies.
I get better rocks.
Why did Diego send me this? What the fuck? Oh my god, Diego got the magic. Wait, is that the black cat skin? God damn. Oh, I can't even write that? That's crazy, guys. I can't write Gooner in this game.
What?
No.
You can't say
No,
Gooner in this
that's
game?
a lot of work.
Yep.
So you didn't write
Gooner
stuff
and
on
it's fine.
Rivals. You have to
Let's
like
talk
space
about
it
how
out.
Stebro's trying to get me.
Yeah, you're trying to get...
Dude, we can hear your fucking music.
This shit's loud, bro.
I was watching a girl on a pole make some money.
Yeah, were you watching with with the speaker right next to your microphone too, bro? Like, what's going
I
on,
respect it.
My
mic is that
To be
Max
honest,
volume,
if there
bro.
was another person who can main healer with Roxy, it'd be a little more helpful. What? No Gooner?
I mean, we
Yeah,
could,
we
we could, but then if one of us swaps off to do support, then we're lacking in a different department, bro.
There, I spelled it out with spaces, guys.
Where are you writing
Type
Gooner?
Gooner with spaces. Oh no, it's just sending it to Diego. Right?
Yeah, that's what I said. Like, you have to like space it out. You have to like put stuff in between to like be able to say bad words or like say other type of
God
words.
damn it! Fuck you. Oh wait, guys, we forgot to wait. Didn't they say the widow was cheating? Was it this game or last game? That was last game. God damn. That was my brain's so fucked. Also, avoid that fucking asshole of Rocket. Oh, are you?
All I
leaving?
know it's 12 a.m.
You said till 2. You said 2.
It is
you
2.
You said 2.
It's
oh,
2.
It is 2. I didn't even notice the time. God damn, it's so late. God damn it.
Dude, those matches have lasted a lot. Not gonna lie, pretty long time. 4 matches.
Yep,
17 minutes, 20 minutes, 11 minutes, 14 minutes,
They've
basically.
all been like Convergence and Convoy, yeah. Or even the
the domination, the fucking we don't talk about that game,
Have we
bro.
won any games?
No.
I don't think we won any.
We won the first
We only
quick
won
match we played. Always
Not
with
quick
me.
match. Oh,
No, and
stream
comp,
ending now.
no.
We're gonna play one more, even without T. T's
Forget-
gotta go to bed because he's got school tomorrow, guys. He's going back to college.
Yeah, he's gonna use his brain for some important stuff instead of this fucking detrimental to the mental health type of.
Hopefully he'll.
I don't wanna.
I hope he'll learn something.
What do you mean stream ending? I just got home, bro. It's not ending, bro. Nobody said
No,
that.
stream's not ending. We're playing one more game, then it's ending.
Well, then her stream is
No,
ending.
we
My
said
stream will
2
probably keep going.
hours
Don't worry.
gap. It's been 3. It's been 3 gap. What
Oh, okay. They got Wiz Khalifa on the team.
Gap, you gotta work less. 2.5, exactly. Get out of here, Gap. 2.5. 2.5. What do you mean 2.5? We need your help. We've played with this potato person before.
A freaking potato? You know this guy?
We played with them.
When?
Hey, I'm pretty sure. Or against, either with or against. Dang, Gap was a lot.
Why do you sound like a robot, dude?
Me?
Is
I sound.
that my internet or yours? I don't know. Could be mine. Might be mine.
No, it's
might be mine.
Guys,
brother
guys.
has- Huh?
Do you remember the Luna that was shit talking Step Bro?
Oh, it is me, definitely. Oh, fuck.
Okay. What about him?
They play Phoenix.
Why didn't they play? Are we surprised they play Phoenix? They play Luna.
No, like they were complaining about us playing spamming characters and annoying characters. They
bitch.
play Phoenix.
I wonder what Phoenix is in. Oh, down. Wanna go for a group ban? Oh, Penny's fine. Penny's fine. Go ahead, ban Penny. I just wanted a group ban in there. Maybe. 50-50. I can't. It's been raining here 2 days straight. Not my fault. After this one with me. What about that? I don't know. I just played against. I just played with a very shitty healer.
Do one with What?
What time is it for you?
It's 2. Yeah.
He has to go to bed.
Yeah, he's gonna go to bed. That's why it's only the three of us. Wait, Step Bro, are you still there? Step Bro?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Oh.
Oh, is T not still playing?
Nah, he's
Yeah,
gotta go. He's
no,
gotta go
he
to
left.
school, bro.
Yeah, I gotta go to school. Night
Okay.
night, T. Thank you for the games, T. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Even though we lost all games.
We go until we win.
Watch us win.
Round one.
It was T holding you back all along.
I don't think it was T holding.
I think it was
us
our
back.
second support holding us back.
Oh, that last round, we should have fucking been able to.
If the Rocket ulted more than fucking once that first round, we would have won. They would have never made
Right?
it.
I'm so confused why he just sat there. He literally just sat there multiple times. I literally can go back into my VOD and see him just sitting there every time I died. And then he immediately would die to the Moon Knight. Well, Moon Knight. It was only the Moon Knight who would immediately.
And we're looking fly. Yo, I could save her, bro.
3, 2,
Yo, lock in, bro. No
Is
gooning,
that
no
one of the
gooning.
resellers, by the way?
Yeah. I was gonna get the blue one, but I didn't want to be based on the blue one.
So you want it to be different.
You are based.
That's what I heard.
You have an Ultron?
Why is everybody, bro? Why do the people protect the fucking widow like there's a fucking bounty on my fucking?
Yo, we had a
Fuck.
Oh, it's like that?
And they answer so fucking.
Okay, remember, here's the thing. You're gonna have to tell me if you're dying, okay? I can't be looking back.
Yeah, I mean the Venom behind us, bro. That's really the main issue here.
Here, there's some space here. Oh my god.
Yeah, I know you guys need healing, but you know what we were doing? Dealing with the Venom.
Are you fucking alive, bro? He's coming back. Oh, that's not good. I heard the Namor fucking hit me, bro. Oh, that's even worse.
I still vaulted.
Oh no! Oh, that still hit me.
Oh, we had too many people dead. What was this?
Okay.
Let's go.
Alright, yeah, they have triple support, Widow and Namor, so.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
And then they
pick
have
up the
Venom.
And
The
they have
Venom
a
is
Venom
really
diving.
Venom is literally killing both me and he's not killing us, he's distracting me and
Oh my god.
dying. I'm dead. Is that you all things?
Yeah.
There we go.
At least to get up to the point with that one. Hopefully we can pass the point with yours.
I wanna wait until they're
Yeah, take your time, take your time.
Heal it down.
Dead. I'm swapping to Rocket now.
It's down. I couldn't kill the other killer. One's down though. One killer down.
Oh, good, oh, good. I need Moon Knight to do something, bro. Ah, that's
Dude,
not.
where did you go?
Deal.
I can't see you.
This is a nice spot.
And I'm a slow bitch.
almost there. Don't turn back now.
Oh, I instantly popped the holy.
Okay. Yo, get the fucking Widow, bro. No way.
You call yourself a sniper? Don't mind me. I'm just dying.
Kill it down.
No more backline.
Reached a checkpoint.
No more and fucking Ultron up there.
Follow the enemy.
Guys, please.
Follow the enemy.
They're both looking at me, bro. Healer and a fucking boy.
I'm trying to heal you. I'm trying to look at you, but this one more is actually killing me.
Yeah, he's
Okay, me and Hood are just on point.
Is he dead?
No, they're all.
Sorry, Gap. I know you're typing a lot. My apologies. Just hard to pay attention. To be honest, when Venom dies,
He said no more rank until next season, bro. Damn, it's like that.
T?
The widow.
Don't play with you, Gap. That's up to Roxy.
Is it weird how there's been a rock in almost every game you play? I know, and he's not even that great this season.
Rainbow stands with you.
Don't mind me. I'm just dying. I'll patch you up.
Oh my god, bro. I'm dead.
No, bro.
Oh, I'm not dead. I'm not dead.
I'm literally.
No more, just fucking missed.
Mad Moon, there's a bubble. No, you're.
I know there's a bubble. There's multiple bubbles. I'm trying, bro. There's fucking the more around the corner. Oh, you fucking bitch, man. I did all that surviving just to get sniped by Black Widow in her ult.
I know that's what I did. That's what happened, bro.
Oh, I'm not gonna make it easy.
Guys, is this a Venom on me?
Here we go.
Relay deployed. It ain't cheap. You're
I
ready
can't do
for
anything
action.
about that. I have ult, but I don't want to ult.
Yeah, if you ult, there's only 3 of us right now. Actually, honestly, you might as well, bro.
You're welcome.
Unless you want me to ult instead. No way, I died.
No!
I almost had her, bro. I almost had her.
Oh, I'm gonna get some revenge.
We got it? Oh shit. We don't got it? Oh, we got it? Okay.
We got it.
So B.
Oh, I'm dead.
Back up, 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 back up.
It's okay, we still got the point.
You're ready for action.
Don't mind me as I walk.
Oh, bro. Oh, brother. What the fuck was that? What the hell happened to Moon Knight?
By the eye of Agamotto!
This is
Oh, I
real
tried saving her.
firepower. My good deed.
Yeah, I was a little late on that one. I tried to dodge it first.
Oh my god, bro. Fuck, man. That.
Someone's shooting from across.
Luna with her
Widow.
clap and her drone. And...
Bro, this Moon Knight needs to kill anybody like the Widow, please, anytime soon. That'd be great, man. I'm dead. I hope it's not
Sorry, I
lost.
have to be greedy with my bubble.
No, I hope it's not lost. Just don't die to that. Just don't die to that. Oh, that's us. Never mind. That's us. That's us. Sorry. I was expecting the enemy team for a second. I was like, oh, whose is that?
What is this Moon Knight doing? What are you doing?
Moon Knight, stop focusing on this fucking flyer, brother. Focus on the fucking ground,
Venom's
man.
gonna kill me. Venom's gonna kill me.
I can't do anything. I'm ulting. I'm ulting it. I'm ulting. Okay.
I think Ultron is a big threat. He is.
He's not that big of a
Brother,
threat.
he is, bro. But he's missing all his fucking shots. He should have said like, oh yeah, he's hitting shots, right? He's fucking missing every fucking shot, bro.
I mean, it's better
No,
than
no hate, no hate, no hate. You know what I mean? But like, bro,
it is important.
It's not over, bro. Lock in, lock in, lock in.
Shut up.
Venom backline.
Fires are important people to.
Hey, did they
Ultron
portal?
is a-
Yeah, they portal, they portal, they portal.
I'm dead. I'm dead. I'm dead.
Oh, that's not
Ooh,
good.
Mamu, it's all on you. It's all on you.
I can't do shit. They have the fucking dagger ult on,
Yeah,
bro.
their triple hero is fucking us.
Perfect precision.
Oh, hell
I'm
no.
killing 1 or 2 killers almost all game, bro. That's not an excuse, bro.
Someone has to get on point. Someone has to
I'm
get
on the point. I'm the only one on the point, bro. I'm dead. It's over.
Sorry.
I was about to be on point, bro. I was
Didn't
about to
realize it.
What did you just say?
Two.
I said I've been killing the healers. 1 or 2 healers at most every fight.
Time to switch things up.
That's not an excuse. But like,
What does it have to
he's
do with
shoot.
anything?
You brought it up. You said it's triple heals. Yeah, he's missing every fucking shot. Let's say, right, he was getting value from killing this fucking Ultron.
If we only get 1 healer and there's still 2 healers in the sky, we still have to take out 2 healers even if we kill 1
sky?
healer.
That'd be on you. That'd be on you, brother.
Aware. That's why.
Exactly. And then why is Moon Knight shooting on the fucking sky and he's missing half his fucking kid trying to kill him and
That's
then
why
he
it's
just
important.
walks away?
Yo, you're running out of breath. That's wild. Take a deep breath. Reassess yourself.
Reassess who? Shut the fuck up and do
You're upset
better.
at pixels, right?
No, I'm upset at Moon Knight, bro.
Yeah, like.
Yep.
Pixels.
Bro, just aim at whoever you can hit, bro. That's all that I care about. If you can hit them, just hit them. Just hit them, bro.
No. I'm upset at your skill issue where you can't aim. You know, that's what.
You hit them.
I'm a Rocket Raccoon, bro. You want me to shoot them instead of healing you?
Go ahead. Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Nah. Bad move. Start doing that. Just start doing it.
Yeah, you're
Start
fucking
doing it.
stupid,
Start doing
bro.
it.
You hit them, bro.
The battle starts in 5.
That's fine. That's fine.
4, 3,
Fuck it.
2, 1.
One more here.
You're welcome.
Nah, we are shooting them, though. I mean, realistically.
Okay, then kill them, though. That's like the next part, you know?
Dude.
Second half of the equation.
Shut up.
Well, at least the grossest part of the battle is over. I just got more dangerous.
I hear Venom.
I'll patch you up.
Like, how am I supposed to kill him when I'm in the graveyard? Also, I'm not getting enough heals.
I got a song.
You want to talk
Bro,
about
you have
heal?
full health right now. I don't know what you're complaining
I
about.
can't kill from the graveyard, but
And don't die, dumbass.
Every time.
You told me not to heal. You told me not to heal you, bro. You told me not to heal you, bro.
I never said that. Those words never came out of my mouth. You were hallucinating, brother.
Oh, is your boyfriend Moon Knight said that? My fault.
Bad moon.
Don't worry, I'm getting chased by Venom.
I'll patch you up.
Alright. GG's, bro.
You're back, dumbass. Relax.
Nah, you said you're not gonna heal me. GG's, bro.
More bad guys. Just what we need.
I can't shoot flyers from the graveyard. It's not possible.
You can't shoot anybody at all, bro.
It's not true.
Is he even hitting anyone?
I'm the
Yeah,
MVP
bro,
on this
that-
team. I don't know what you're talking about.
That was last time.
Can we just stop arguing and just play,
that was
please?
I've been shooting.
Bro, that was last round, bro.
I'll patch
Just
you
focus
up.
on this round.
I'm gonna give him a couple.
They hit a checkpoint. Now might be a good time to stop them.
You're ready for action.
Fucker's a dumb fuck. He is dumb as shit.
Holy fucking Widow, bro. Why is it always Black Widow?
Here comes rocket again.
I need to go
Keep getting
here
out of
for
us.
this Venom.
Why are you running faster than me, bitch?
Relay deployed. It ain't cheap. You're welcome.
This web.
Oh, what the fuck?
We got it, guys. We got it.
Someone's gunning for us.
This is a nice spot.
Now, do you want to ult first or...
I'll ult first.
Okay, knock yourself out.
This is real.
Widow's dead. Okay, Ultron's ulting on that.
We're good.
Face oblivion.
I am ready to put on a show.
We got a Venom in the back. Oh, I'm dead. I'm dead.
I'm sorry. I'm being chased right now. A lot of things happening at once. Dead. Oh, I'm not dead yet.
We want triple heals. Yay, we finally matching their triple heals. You know,
Okay,
something we should have
okay.
done a while ago.
It's not over.
We good.
Precision.
I'll patch you up.
Okay.
Oh my god, I wasn't able to hold. Fuck.
My back. I'm going green. You're ready for action.
This.
Amos 8-armed pals are officially fish food.
I hear
Got him right side. Okay. Yo, that's a piece. Oh, I can't save everybody from that one.
I'm just gonna come out. Someone can get on point. Find ult from behind.
No more, bro.
Ooh,
NT.
Final score 2-3.
whatever. I don't care. I don't give a shit.
No, you fucking suck as healer, dog. You're the worst healer in the world.
Well, you can't expect to win.
I'm on my fucking lawn, bitch.
He's man, he's talking to you.
I know he's
I'm
talking to
sorry.
me, bro.
Oh,
But look at their final hits, bro. So what can you even say, bro?
oh damn. I'm so done. I'm just getting game. No, it was kind of on me. I should ult at the end. That was on me. My apologies.
You're fine.
No, it's about the fucking guy who was like 14, 15, or 15 and 14, played support at the very end of the game.
I don't know.
Like that was
why.
about to make a difference.
Yep. You know, save stats. You know.
Oh, you only got 3
that's
minutes left.
crazy.
Yeah, let me switch to third support now. That's a great idea.
Dude, we should have had a third support. Dude, if they have 3 supports, it's like you either go 3 tanks, or you match with 3 supports. God damn, I'm so done. I'm not watching that stupid shit.
The real question is, why was the other guy caping so hard when we were just mad at Moon Knight?
Which hero do you think you want to be?
Oh no, they got the same Widow on their team, bro.
The guy who was doing what?
The Widow from the other team is on their team again.
No. You're saying why was?
Oh, I'm saying because the fucking we were mad at the Moon Knight, but the Moon Knight wasn't even the one that was talking, bro. The other guy was just like.
Oh, he was the Moon Knight. He
no,
switched off.
The other guy was talking.
I thought it was the Moon Knight talking. I thought he just switched to.
No, the Moon Knight was the potato guy.
Oh.
The person who was talking was the fucking
duo,
Grim Wizard guy. They're not even a duo, bro. I'm looking at the thing. They're not even a duo, bro. That's why I'm confused about why he was caping so hard for that guy, bro.
Anti-die for Venom, yeah.
Why was he on his nuts, bro?
Anti-die for Venom. I guess it was supposed to be our Winter Soldier. He was supposed to be the anti-die for Venom. I don't fucking know.
I think this is.
That Venom was just coming after us in the back, and like we looked.
Whoa, no invite. You see that, Mad Moon? Damn, that's crazy.
Oh,
I saw that. I
Gap.
100% saw that, bro.
You do understand? You can join the VC and you can say something, right? You know you can do that. You know you can click a button and ask to join. You know that, Gap? Gap, you know that? Oh, this was my group tonight. Oh, Penny would have been a better band on this map. Domination. Oh, Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
No, it
Okay.
was the Winter Soldier. Yeah.
Anything is possible in domination.
Yeah, he was the one talking all that shit. Dude, I was okay. I thought he had just switched off.
No. The Moon Knight was just ass. They were
no,
like,
I mean like
they were like
the thing
11
is,
and
to pop them off is when I told him I was like, you're supposed to be the one taking care of the what's called, the fucking flyer.
the Flyers, yeah.
Not Moon Knight, and that's when he started like popping off.
Yeah.
That's when he was.
He was like.
Yeah. Because I was like,
I
yo,
think
Moon
he
Knight,
misheard
hit
you
the
then, because he
fucking
was
floor.
talking about, oh, we need to shoot him. He's pretty important, and it's like, yeah,
And
you're
then
supposed.
when I
Yeah,
said
it's
that,
his
he
job,
said-
bro.
No, he didn't hear. He didn't hear. I think he misunderstood. I think he was saying stop shooting.
When he said that,
Get ready.
No, I mean, we
When I said
reiterated
that, he
multiple
said,
times
well,
that Moon Knight
somebody
was
has
the
to
one
shoot
missing,
him.
bro.
He did not
Yeah.
understand.
And
We
then that's
definitely
when I was
reiterated
like,
multiple
bro, like,
times.
he's missing
Step Bro
half
said
of
he
his
was like
fucking
missing his whole
dick.
kid. I said, yo, bro, can you hit it something you can aim, bro? Like, damn.
English comprehension. English
Yeah,
comprehension.
Motherfuckers just,
No, it's,
you know, they're blinded by the rage,
in
bro.
this,
That's when
you
everybody,
guys,
like,
this
popped off.
generation, Gen Alpha, nah, they fucked. They
Bro.
The
I
battle
don't think they were
starts
Gen
in
Alpha,
5,
bro.
Yo, we got our Winter Soldier's call outs on our team, bro. In my grave. I can't hit him from the grave. What did he say?
All you need to do is capture the mission
don't,
area.
you know,
Yeah.
Got it?
make sure your son doesn't.
He was
end
complaining
up
about
with
his
the
health
rest
at
of
full
Gen
health, bro. Like, I don't understand.
Alpha. Oh, we're doing triple heals? Okay.
Sure.
Yeah,
Also,
triple heals
I'm
attack.
low-key lagging again for some reason. And close some tabs.
Let's see how this works. Let's see how this works.
Close some tabs. Okay, their Widow from last round is playing Hawkeye this round. Okay, they're Ace. Their best character. Yes.
There goes our rocket.
Jesus Christ.
Capture now.
The Hawkeye. That Hawkeye is trying to aim for me. He is going in that hole.
Push in, thanks. Push in, bro.
I'm going around. Looks dead.
Oh, I shot that way too
Ultron's
far,
dead.
sorry.
I'm on the point. I'm gonna cap it while you guys do all that. Don't go too far yet. Okay. We're good. Also can die. Nice. Who's Dino fighting? Oh, Rocket and Magneto. Okay. Oh, there's three of them. Never mind. Rocket, Magneto, and Cloak.
Where are you guys fighting? God.
Looks low.
Where's this
One shot.
corner?
Close dead. Magneto low. Magneto dead. They have a flyer.
I hear
Iron Man.
No, I got popped.
Iron Man. Iron Man. Iron
Iron
Man.
Man.
He dead.
Listen, I hear a rocket before. Oh, motherfucker. Where's Iron Man?
I got popped though.
Nice. Nice.
I need to start looking my thing.
Iron Man's flying back.
I'm gonna try to focus more on damage. I mean, I'm healing, right? But I'll try to focus more on damage.
I'm gonna do a little flanky on them.
Yes.
You're not gonna see this one coming.
You're by yourself over there. Yo, Dino, you need to be in the front, brother. I'm getting all the shots that you're not. You're a tank, bro. You need to sit in the front.
Oh, fuck the map. Moving.
Be careful, guys.
Oh
we can't
my
heal you.
god. Oh
Guys,
my
you
god.
guys, what the fuck?
Oh my god.
What the fuck?
Don't worry, it worked out. It worked out. It worked out. Kind of. We only lost like one person.
Get out of tank. Get out of your ult. Get out of your ult.
Chat ulted in the corner. You get out of there. Get out of this fucking corner, bro. Corner of despair. You can't stop this one though. You can't stop this one. Oh, that Cloak can stop it though. Fuck. Oh hell no.
Us against the world.
Dude, I'm sorry. It's just bad all this.
That's all good. Don't worry. That's us, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Iron Man?
You're too high. You're not gonna get the point, dude.
Imagine dying to the fucking bubble. Or getting dropped by the bubble. Depressing.
What?
The Widow's name is Learning Center?
Yeah, no, it's Leering Center. It's
Leering? Oh.
It's a reference to I don't know if you know about the people that said the Somalians were doing fraud in Minnesota with their daycares.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, there's a learning center and there's a Leering Center, so they're like like they're calling like it's like a dog whistle type of name.
Get ready.
Okay. Triple heals and tank? Yeah, because I just noticed we went triple tank.
Is LTG lieutenant? That's not lieutenant, right? That's like a different thing. Does it got private tickler and LTG?
Isn't it
tickler?
LTD lieutenant? Isn't LTD?
I know. I'm sorry for yelling at you, brother. I just died twice. My bad.
Yeah, what is LTG? Is that like I don't know about military ranking.
What does LTG stand for, guys?
LGBTQ plus barbecue.
To be honest,
Military.
I remember that.
2, 1.
Lieutenant General. Oh, Lieutenant General. Okay, that makes sense.
The mission area.
Oh, it's lieutenant.
Lieutenant General.
Low
So
tier
like
god, maybe.
low tier
Might be
god?
Low tier god.
It's not low tier god, bro. It is not low tier god. Wasn't that guy supposed to quit streaming when he turned 40, bro?
Hey, he probably would have made millions by then.
No, he's still 40, bro. He just turned 40 now.
Oh,
He's like, yo, if I turn 40 and I'm still
he's
streaming, bro, I
40?
failed. Look to your god, yeah.
Guys, this is a Iron Man.
Where they at? Oh, okay. Don't worry. Thor is on the job. The men with the hammer will get it done. Once I deal with the Groot and the Ultron and the rest of the team. Oh, they have a Hela now, man. Come on, bro.
Oh my god, this is why we bang Groot.
Don't worry. We have the point.
Oh, we're good.
Hold it down. I'm ulting on their whole backline right now as we speak. Guys. No good, right? Y'all good, right? Okay, heal me real quick. Actually, no, I'm good. Never mind. Got that back. Oh, I can't help you with that one. Hey, group. Like, what did he solo ult me, bro? No way. That's bullying. That's not fair.
This Iron Man is after my ass. How many DPS are they playing right now?
Well, they're playing Ultron as a DPS. They got Wolverine as a DPS.
Or Dino back, or switch off Dino?
I haven't seen that guy in a minute, bro.
Oh, he's back here.
Dino keeps playing off angles, bro, which I don't know why. Well, I mean, like, he does that.
Okay, I'm gonna ult.
Okay. One is dead.
Oh, that sucks for you. That your group's wall kind of saved me there.
Iron Man's still alive. Oh, he did a loop booted.
Watch this place closely. I have spotted an enemy.
I'm going around. Luna's one shot. Never mind. Oh my god. You're dead. Nice. Too slow. He's dead. Iron Man.
I am ready to put on a show.
Oh, they got off point. At least we got that.
Nice.
Okay. Nice. I died. I didn't die. God damn.
I only died when I fucking double ulted by Hela and Groot at the same time, bro. Solo. Actually crazy. Yo, one healing? Nah, how did this guy get one singular point of healing? What?
That's actually crazy.
One?
That's actually
One.
crazy.
Only
That's
one.
no point of healing.
Nah. Nah.
Crazy.
Hey, I'm staying on diamond, boys. I'm staying on diamond.
Oh, you are? God damn. Fuck, we should have lost.
Yo, chill. That one healing made the difference, yo, for real,
One
bro.
more with Gap or no?
I'm down.
I'm down. Let me go to the washroom first, though.
Nah, Gap's already in a comp game. Gap, you missed out. You fucked up.
Okay, well, I still have to. Either way, I still have to go to the washroom, so.
You fucked up, Gap. That one healing made the difference. That one
healing won the game.
Won the game. I love how you apologize to Dino, though. That's so fucking hilarious. And Dino was like, yeah, you better apologize, bitch. You better apologize. Oh my god. That's fucking hilarious. What are these? Alright, I'm going to the beach. Let's go to the beach, eat, let's go get away. They say what they're gonna say. Oh, it's always one more. Is that the drink? Clink. Oh no, I don't sing music like that bitch anymore. I forgot. My apologies. It's my apologies. Oh, is it because I have to aim this photo? I have no real skin. I have a Spider-Man skin actually. When I think about it. No, this one. No, this one. Wait. Or maybe I should be Emma, guys. Okay, guys. I take photo. And then I share it. Who am I sharing this to? Who shall I share this with? Who shall I? Let's share with Gap. Gap, you can have this photo. I hope you enjoy. I just got 100 units, guys. Boom! Shakalaka laka laka laka. There's summer tunes. That's the Luna song, is it not? Oh, I kind of like the Gala one. Welcome back.
Taking this guy Gap never even joined the fucking Discord server.
I know he didn't.
And I
join
never
the
claimed
call.
his spot, bro.
Gab just didn't want to join the call. Gab, you have to get in the call, or then I'm kicking you out. Well, you better not jinx it.
There he is.
Okay, just took a long gap. Gap, I'm disappointed.
You took a long gap, bro?
Why?
Because you should have been here earlier.
It's not my fault.
It is. It is. It's always your fault, my dude.
Yeah, for real. I'm a hard worker.
Yeah, it's in your DNA, bro.
Oh god, I have to go back to work, guys. I'm not used to this.
What's up?
See everything. Oh, I'm going back to work. You know?
Oh, yeah. Have fun with that, dude.
Depression. How are your exams, Mamoon? How are your exams?
You know, if I fail this exam, bro, if I failed it, basically I might just have to give up academic career for. Might just be over for me. I might be washed, bro. I might be washed.
Are you serious?
Listen, man. If I fail this, then I can't do 2 prerequisites in the fall. So I'm like, yo, I might as well just give up, bro.
Oh my god.
It's just tough out here, man.
Okay. Well,
You know, I'm not in my academic prime anymore. That shit was like 7 years ago.
Yeah, you know, the cancer.
The ripe old
and
age of
all that shit.
25, bro. Holy man. Turning 26 soon. Jesus Christ, my brain is not the same. Genuinely, I look at my notes from like 5 years ago, and it's like a different person, bro.
You're actually locked in? during that time?
Yeah, somehow, bro.
What else do we ban?
Learn good characters. That's the guy on the team.
Wait, oh, I put in a hella ban.
Locking, you got that, fam? Listen, the thing is I can't lock in now because it already happened. So.
Oh, create double bans, guys.
I mean, realistically, all I need is a 50, you know?
Do you want a hella or a
If
penny?
they ban Torch, why would they ban Torch?
Penny's nerfed.
Penny's not nerfed, bro.
Penny's not nerfed. Penny's not nerfed. Penny is still very much Penny.
Penny's got a fucking shield,
Yeah,
bro.
but they nerfed this ton.
She got a fucking
Penny
shield,
is
bro.
not nerfed. Nah, Penny's got a shield now. Fuck that bitch. Oh, and Elsa, they were.
It's only a stun if you're trying to stun multiple people.
We should have banned Thing, guys.
Should have aimed for the head, bro.
No, we should have banned Penny. We should have fucking banned Penny.
It's light. It's light. Anything is possible in domination.
We should have banned Hope. What are we talking about? Well, we banned one.
Me and Step Bro, we will be diving.
What happened?
I said me and you are gonna be diving, and the other 2 DPS, they're gonna provide support from the distance, you know?
Yeah.
I think Pennyweb is the only
Penny
bad
is the
thing in
only
my
bad
opinion.
thing in my opinion. Like, as in it's not good, or as in like.
Oh, I
it's
mean, like,
something
if you-
Like it's annoying.
Yeah, if you think about it, it's like you hit one and then you just constantly hit your
Yeah,
heads.
as long as you're not switching targets, it's actually worse for the other people.
It's constant, bro. A penny against a
Yeah, like a
thing.
thing.
It was
Anybody who's
annoying
diving that
offense
you can
too.
track, you know.
because he would just constantly whip you. But now it's like
Not good anymore if you play tank. Yeah,
because you know how like
yeah.
you charge. You know what thing you charge?
Yeah, if you're like
just whip you,
Thor thing, you know, it's like
The battle starts in
you cannot do
5,
any diving actions. Venom, even if you get caught properly.
1.
That's like you gotta
And
just
Angela, if they got
constantly-
good aim, you know. It's tough out there. Even the slow is pretty bad, you know.
Oh, that's when I'm enhanced. It's not enhanced.
Say something? Oh, you got the.
Nothing more. No, I don't have enhanced. I'm just saying, if it was enhanced, y'all should walk through my builds more often. Just walk through them. You guys get more. You get a damage increase. I don't know if you guys knew that.
I mean, I don't know when you have the team upon. You gotta like announce that.
No. When there's a hood, trust me, I have the team. Or I will.
Holy fuck! What just happened on my screen?
Back. There's a Phoenix.
I know. I tried to get her, but my game wanted to be like, no, sir, we're not doing that today. Are you good?
Oh my god, that mag is protecting him so well.
Yeah. Who's up close?
Well, she is feeding me.
Oh, that's not good.
Yep, that's why I didn't push that.
Yeah,
like
no.
all there, bro, like in that corner.
That was not a good maneuver to make as the solo tank.
What battle can continue without
I didn't realize how I was moving.
Ah,
Finn is still good, but it's not a big pick anymore.
Oh my
Who?
god.
She's feeding them in the corner. That's
They're-
why. They're
they're
all like in
Jubilee.
one spot. As soon as Moon pushed in, he got big stair pod.
Yeah.
You've captured more than half of the mission area.
Okay, it's
Keep
okay.
going.
Fall back, fall back.
Okay, so we were blaming Mad Moon for feeding the.
No.
Huh?
No. They're
Like, her
all
kid's still
like
good,
inside.
but it's not like a big pick for.
What the fuck do you mean you're blaming me, bro?
Okay.
Rock wants to blame someone.
Why's it gotta be me, bro?
Don't worry.
I'm worried. Oh man.
Neither me nor Gab have all.
I'm
Oh
back.
yeah, we only have one tank.
Yeah, and it's
That's-
me, dude. That's what I said. They gotta put me in the trenches, bro. Widow's dead. I'm on Jubilee's ass right now. Never mind. There's too many people
They're all
here.
playing
There's too many people
together,
here.
Like they're all grouped.
Yeah, it's fucking Magneto bubbling everybody who needs it every time.
And there's two down. We win this fight. Yo.
Gab, can I get some heals, please?
Okay. Jubilee's dead. They're on the back burner right now. Gambit's half. Gambit's low. Widow low. Widow done. Keep going. Nice. One more. Oh, he's already
I
dead.
want some of that action. I just had to cross the whole map. Fuck. Okay, it's over. I crossed the whole fucking map.
Nah, it's all good.
I'm gonna ult this. Just to secure this point.
Yeah, back up for a second. They're doing a whole lot of that. Oh shit. The fucking stun off the Phoenix hit, bro. Damn. All good. Don't even worry about it.
No, fuck, I was trying to go away. Brother, I'm fucking ass.
We got support ults, right? Okay, good.
Yes,
Yeah. One of you ult
Be
whenever.
careful with that, Gab. Be careful. We're hiding away whoever's out there.
Okay. Oh, okay.
I am 0-3.
I am not
Yes.
going into that.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
I'm gonna ult this in.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm ulting.
There you go, gotta kill.
Not that ulted. I'm dead.
I'm dead.
Oh shit.
You are not Gab.
I tried to hold and I.
The lightning of Asgard returns.
Dead.
Do we need to portal?
Yes.
Okay, well, someone should do that because it's not gonna be me. I'm on the point right now. We got to hold it down for a second.
Behold the god of
Going to overtime.
Oh, what? Oh. Oh man.
It's a bubble, 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 just a bubble.
Oh man. Am I gonna spawn by the time the portal's still there? I don't think so. Oh, I made it. W? Nice. Okay. Okay.
I'm coming back. I'm coming back. I'm coming back. I'm coming back.
You're coming back where?
I'm coming back. Bro.
To positive, bro.
I was 1-4. I was 1-4, bro. Like,
Oh, he went from 1-4 to 3-4. Congratulations.
I have my sister's
I'm coming back. I'm coming back.
If not her company.
Trust, guys.
Bro, I was like, if I portal now, I don't know if anybody's gonna make it the point. So I fucking meant there as fast as possible to touch the point for OT. I'm like, please, somebody portal.
30 seconds before you attack. Get ready.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Good portal.
Don't worry, learn good characters.
Yeah. He picked the portal.
Peter Quill. None of them mention you. What are you lord of precisely?
I mean, you know, the stars. It's like
Oh, dear.
What are y'all
The
gonna
fuck is a
do?
Draco
How
Soul,
you
bro?
guys
What do you mean
gonna
is that?
mess up?
no, I mean,
Hell fuck no.
The battle
Dude,
starts in
I'm
5,
I'm a full-grown adult.
3,
What did you say?
2,
So?
1.
You don't like
What was the question?
But what do you mean like candy? I can't go trick or
Oh, you're talking
bad,
about going trick or treating? I mean, yo, you got a kid, bro. You can go trick or treating and get some candy. That's not. We can't do that shit, bro.
You're funny, Ice. You're funny. You're funny.
Robo's a great character,
ma'am,
bro.
I'm sorry.
Now pick up Storm. Pick up Storm. Buy her beat skin.
Look at that! Look at that!
I'm trying, bro. What? What? This health bar went up so fast, bro. So solid, thank you.
No, they both.
Don't worry. I'm fighting Magneto as we speak. I'm gonna get cooked as we speak. I'm dead as we spoke. My fucker's name is Gamer, bro. I can't fight that.
Can I get heals? Oh my god, never mind.
You gotta ask Gap for that, bro.
Yep, Gap just kept walking the other way.
Okay.
Give me that assist, team up.
Okay.
Capture the mission area.
Where the fuck did Psylocke go? Oh, okay. Psylocke dead? That one wasn't even like I can't even blame that one.
There you go.
What's up, yo? I said heal.
My upgrade one, dude.
What the fuck am I saying, guys?
Oh, it just gives me health. Okay.
This bitch is talking.
That's kind of lame, but.
Awaken the rage of battle.
Except for when Angela.
Yeah. W team up.
I almost killed her. No,
nice.
The girl tried.
I went to put everyone in a wall.
Oh, they doubled on that one. Damage boost on the start of the ult. Watch out for mag. Encroaching on the point. I'm ulting on their whole team. They're all low. At least a lot of them are.
Push them all back. Push them all back.
I got the Jubilee ult on. Hold on, back up a little bit.
Push them back. Yeah, dumbass.
Nice. Good shit.
Holy fuck.
I hear someone. What?
Where's the silo?
Boss running, bro.
Let's play some ammo again.
I was just doing that for fun.
Damn, I almost killed Salak last time too, bro. Good job, Mac. Good job, Mac. LMAO, Mac. Damn, they talking to him like that. You threw the game so bad. Damn.
Nah, bro, I was pushing him over the bed.
Genuinely
because
didn't
he
want to
kill the
ult unless it
Punisher
was
when he
funny.
ulted?
Yeah,
ulted and I
he
was
only
like,
ulted on
right on his
Punisher.
ult as well.
Look at me. Me and Gab don't even have to do as much work as their healers.
My DPS is 10 and 9. So Psylocke, bro. Psylocke, at least they got the alt merchant status.
I went 6-5, bro.
Salak was their Phoenix before, yeah.
Yeah, their Phoenix was doing damage to me before.
Oh my god.
6-5.
Good job, guys. Good job.
Yeah, I got 6-5 too. If
God damn
you're
it.
looking at the deaths and assists.
Go until we lose. Go until
So
we
we won a game.
Go until we lose.
Yeah. Go until we lose. I can play with it.
Whoa. Excuse
I mean,
me.
we won the one before that, didn't? Oh no, we
Is that a
didn't.
threat?
Yeah, we did. We won the one before that too.
What's a threat? What? What?
Playing with Gap is a threat.
Yo.
We done? Oh, sorry, Ice. We're not done. We're not done. We can do one more. We can do one more. An itty.
Never mind, we still in it.
Never
Yes,
mind, we
sir. Grind don't stop.
Gang.
Gang. McD Glovin is actually a crazy name though. I didn't recognize that in our game, but didn't acknowledge that in our game. But McD Glovin, crazy name. Holy, it's like a double, triple entendre right there, man.
This guy. Let's see. View his career. Oh, it's private. Of course, the guy who was so mad at us.
Which guy?
Has a
Which
private
one?
account. The one that was.
Yeah, which one tonight? Pick. Yeah. Take your pick.
The Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier. Which one was that?
Yeah.
What was
The
his
one that
name?
was arguing with you guys.
That stuff is private.
When you guys were dragging, when you guys were dragging the Moon Knight.
Oh, Grimdark
Yeah,
Wizard. Yeah. Let me
Draking? What is that? Is that contagious?
Dragging, bitch. Shut the fuck up. Oh.
Grimdark Wizard. He is Platinum 2. Proficiency. Level 28 Moon Knight. Level 24 Spider-Man. Level 17 Invis. Level 56.
Oh, okay.
51% win rate.
Yeah, one more when you're like 1 point from flat. Shush. Hush.
This guy's changed his name
Hush.
6 times.
Hush, Ice. We don't recognize it.
This guy's changed his
don't
name 6 times. It's crazy, bro. We went from 2-1 Josh to Tall Drink to I'm Just Joshin to Just Joshin to Smoke Bowls 2016 to Grim Dark Wizard.
Wait, he went from I'm just joshing to just joshing?
Yeah, but it's spelled like well, I'm Just Joshing is spelled like how you would expect. Just Joshing is just and then JX with joshing with 2 G's, so like JXing. I don't even know.
Anyways, good job.
What an interesting
Good
individual.
job. Good job.
Is that our SVP? Oh, that was
Nothing. Very
Good job for taking 3,000 damage, bro. Least damage taken.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Least damage taken, least damage done, bro. That's what I like to see,
Do
bro.
you not want me
least
to
damage
appreciate you?
health
I can stop.
healed. That's what I like to see, bro.
No.
I can stop appreciating you, my dude.
No.
Yeah, a freaking potato. We lost the game. Yeah, it's the game that the fucking Grim Dark Wizard, whatever. That's the guy who went fucking Jubilee. A freaking potato. The one you were saying, like, oh yeah, this guy switched to third support at the end when we didn't like, oh
Yeah,
my god,
yeah.
and he went 15 for. Yeah, that played with a freaking potato before. Freaking potato. Oh wait, that's what right. Wait, what's it against?
Are you tweaking right now?
Guys, I'm losing my mind. Okay. Just
Are you
leave me
genuinely
alone.
tweaking right
I'm
now?
dying. Yeah, a bit. Probably.
Why is this queue time
Dude,
taking
it's been
3
a
minutes,
day.
bro?
Beast Boy.
They
That
don't want
was
us to win
who
no
I
more.
was like.
Yo, this shit taking 3 minutes, bro.
But I was in the fucking trenches that game, bro. I think I'm tired
Were
already.
you?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, let's cancel this. Let's start again. Dude, it's because this is my rank up game, so they're trying to find all the EOMM. I swear to God. I swear to God.
Yeah,
Oh,
only your
they're
rank up
about
games,
to-
not anybody else's. They
Is
wouldn't-
anyone else's rank-
No, I mean they wouldn't do that for anybody else's rank up games because we already had
No,
mine.
I mean-
I already did mine. I already went back to Platinum 2.
Oh yeah, I see that. I see that. Hi, Omen. Hello, hello. How are you? How's life? How's everything? I hope right when the ad starts.
That's
I'm
so
sorry,
funny,
Omen.
dude.
I'm sorry, Omen. It's not me. It's Twitch.
That's why you gotta keep 2 tabs open, one for both streams, you know.
Dang.
Asynchronous ads.
Asynchronous ads. Nah. Our ads need to, you know, sync up like periods.
Yeah, one after the other.
Someone new and you just threw ads? It what? I know. I'm sorry. Also, Gap, you're in VC. You can talk. You know that, right?
No, he wants them to because he wants them to see it because they can't hear it because it's an ad.
Yeah.
He wants to be publicly defending, bro. He's a public defender, bro. You don't know about his lawyer activities?
Yeah.
Oh, what's a band?
Aunt Jemima? Damn, I thought they retired her, bro.
Fuck, double ban. I'm sorry.
How would you have
Apologies,
known?
I'll stop banning. I'm done. Y'all do whatever. I'm done.
I love double bans.
No, it's him and not me.
Double BP.
What's there be a double BP ban? That'd be crazy. Oh, it's. That hurts. Oh, magic? They're coming after you.
Mm-hmm.
We do hella?
You can do whoever you want, man.
Or winter soul. Oh, we can do winter soul.
Yeah, just do hella then. Do hella. Or whatever you want.
Oh, he banned.
You gotta be Mac.
Magneto?
You gotta be
Elsa? Oh no, Magneto? Okay.
Nah,
Oh,
hella.
fuck.
Oh, they banned winter. That's crazy.
Pick your hero.
Oh, they fucking count Aunt Jemima.
That's why I was like, nah, go dive, damn bitch. I'm diving y'all back now.
Alright, well, you know what they say, right? Anything is possible in domination. I think it's according to the tracker, it's a 4-stack and 2-stack on both teams.
I mean, close that tracker. We don't use trackers.
I mean, I'm looking at the tracker. I'm not like banning them, I don't even ban in this game. I never press a ban button unless you guys really want me to. I'm only here to look at their win percentage and their ranks.
I have my sister's blessing.
And then to see their account levels once we lose, if we lose. But you know, anything's possible in domination. I believe in us.
Guys, we don't use trackers. Don't worry. We don't use trackers. The only time we use a tracker is when someone has a private account and we want to shit on them.
Yeah, you don't let anything on the tracker actually affect the gameplay. You just judge them a little bit.
Oh yeah.
You look at how many times they change their username. That's how you know they're.
That's my mantis, guys.
Okay.
Battle starts in 5.
You know what they said, right?
We got this.
3.
Who said?
Anything's possible in domination.
All you need to do is capture the mission area. Got
That's
it?
true.
You got the
Anything is
fucking.
possible.
Oh wow.
Just giving it a shot.
Being.
Roxy. Being.
Yo, we need to start banning this.
I'm going behind them.
There's just so much damage, bro.
Oh, Venom? Venom versus Venom?
Venom.
Look at it, behind you, right behind you.
I can't just say you, bro. You gotta be a little bit more specific than that one.
There we go. I'm here with you, bro.
Phoenix is coming. Thing is
No
coming.
one got point. What the fuck?
You haven't got the point yet? Go back, bro. What do you? Oh my god, bro. I was about to drop a slur, bro.
Whoever was here, he just left. He left the point.
No.
What are you guys cooking, bro? We could have been at like 15% by now at least.
Okay, no.
What the fuck, Yante?
It's that Phoenix, bro. That's that Phoenix, brother. Holy fucking damage on it.
Bro, kill the fucking Gambit first. Oh my god. Horo on D. What is this guy's name? Horrid NY?
To battle again.
I don't even know, bro. I need Punisher to lock in though, regardless of where the fuck his name is.
I really think the orange macaroni skin is not helping.
Talking about the Venom, bro?
No. Who the fuck else has an orange macaroni? Motherfucker, I can spot you across the fucking field.
Yeah, I mean, you got the safety vest on, bro. You got the life jacket on.
I have all.
Okay.
Smoking on point.
Okay, I'm here. I'm here. I'm fighting the thing.
All that 4K damage just to get 2 fucking kills.
Guys, there's a widow.
There's a lot of things.
Yeah.
There's healers that have not fucking died ever, bro. I mean, they died, but like they, you know. Yeah, everybody else died once too, though. They don't die, bro. Every time I try to kill them, Gambit's always fucking living.
Okay.
I've tried so many times. I need our Punisher to lock in, bro, please.
Oh, I thought
Okay,
you
they
could
just
still look
mounted
at them.
there. Down.
You can look on it on the tracker, depending on what tracker it is. Sometimes they rebuild the profile off of the
You see that shit, bro?
Venom Zed.
Yeah, fucking. So bullshit, bro.
On the point. I'm fighting Widow on and off the point. Oh, their whole team is about to pull up. I'm gonna get cooked. Widow's dead. Lord help me. Anybody?
Good, good. We can stack with her. We can stack her a bit more.
Did she die?
Yeah,
Nice.
she's dead. Believe it or not, our Punisher actually did something.
Yeah, he ult maxed on him. He pulled it. He pulled a 1 and 4 to a 4 and 4. Seen that one before.
You captured more than Keep going.
Except for he's talking about you.
I'm gonna die. I have my ult. Blade has their ult. Gap has the ult.
Sounds good now.
It's okay. I believe. Oh, nice. That was beautiful. That was so good.
You are nothing. He solo ulted on just me, by the way, guys. This bitch solo ulted on me. Kill
They
her.
wanted to double tank me, bro, and a fucking healer. Fuck them.
Kill her.
Sorry, I almost ran out of a fucking mouse pad for that one. I had to like flick up real quick. That's our portal. Okay, bet. They might portal back. They might portal.
That's mine, buddy. That's mine. You ain't getting that.
Nice, nice. They switched to strange, but I don't know if they started the portal. Hopefully they bricked it.
About to pop in a Viagra, bro. They know they ain't harder than me and
You tell them, bro.
If not her company.
They need that Rhino pack.
Clock it.
They need that honey, bro.
Okay.
They're not hard as us.
They're not as hard as
us.
Yeah. They need that blue pill, bro.
No. Man, how hard are you?
Oh shit.
What did Lil Baby say?
It says
Harder than ever?
No, the best quote that I know is Blueface. He said,
It's so hard to make the metal detector go off?
Nah, he said, so many hoes in this world. If I don't fuck them, who will?
Oh my god, what is happening?
Spitting facts, bro.
What is this conversation? Okay. God damn. Guys, we're just that
ready.
R.I.P. that pussy. I said thank you for your cervix.
Yeah, buddy, where you going? Where you going, buddy? I thought you wanted to fight.
He's living.
Kill him. Nice. Kill Venom. He's running. He's scared. He can't dash. He can't dash. Bubble got him.
We didn't get point again.
Oh, yeah, you got it, right?
We got it.
Hand on my lightweight. Okay.
Alright, I'm fighting Widow real quick.
These guys must be fucking mad. Yo, this man just appreciate the fucking pocket there, brother.
Let's go. Okay, thanks. appreciate it.
No, you're not grabbing him.
You tell him, bro.
Okay, okay, yeah, never mind. I'm fair. I'm about to ult this.
Oh, I hope he
They have a rocket, right? Okay, yeah, they have a rocket. They just used their ult, their beacon. Is that our blade? Okay, thank you. I was about to be like, yeah.
Is there?
I don't know,
blade?
man. You know, sometimes, you know, I'm looking at the visuals. I see the ultimate. I'm like, oh, should I dash into that or not?
Oh, brother, fuck, brother. Oh, hey,
They're so scared, bro. They're so scared.
I'm already at 30 ult again.
I'm at 92 right now. I'm about to fucking ult on them when they push up. If they even want to do that, any of that nonsense.
Go back in. Go back in. Stay in there. Stay at home.
Is there not another way out?
There is multiple ways out, but they're all more or less in front of us. They don't see me, right? They don't see me, right? Okay.
So I don't think so. They just walk past.
Where you
okay.
Going? No, I got grabbed.
Oh, they ulted? Okay.
Not that ult for me, brother.
This is bullying. This is genuinely bullying.
Their gap is gonna. I mean, their gambit.
Their gap. Portal?
Are they portaling?
Yeah.
Who's portaling?
They're strange.
Stop them.
Oh, I can't stop them, bro. He got the beacon off though. He got the beacon off.
Okay. Their gaps are their gambit.
Jesus Christ, Rossi.
I'm dead.
I'm sorry.
Oh shit. He's 2 feet away from me.
Oh my god.
Wait, the fuck gonna be, bro.
Okay. Just reset real quick.
I was gonna ult it, but he turned around.
No, there was no point. You should stop that portal.
Nah, yeah. I mean, it's not
Our
easy.
sword didn't go in and...
What are you talking about, bro?
Yeah, we couldn't. Nobody could stop him. He was too in.
Just gonna blame me for not stopping.
This man how hard he was. It was a joke. It was a hard joke.
Okay? Yeah, why the fuck are you asking that, bro?
Joke.
Kind of crazy.
That's my favorite Rihanna song, by the way.
You know?
In case anybody was wondering, my favorite Rihanna song is Hard.
No, bro.
Just know that.
Me,
oh, okay. Hold on. Punisher. Needs to die, like now.
Has there?
I'm gonna die. Oh my god.
Team's capture progress has passed the halfway point.
To battle again.
Honestly, I think as long as me and Step are focusing the same individual, I think we're gonna get motion again. We just like kind of got too lackadaisical.
That's how she killed me. That's great.
We started treating this game like it was a joke thing.
Just keep him alive.
Rocket dead.
Dude, okay, he was shooting. Why are you
Punisher
shooting?
dead.
Oh.
Yeah, where are you going, bro?
Trench is so low.
Gambit ulted on himself. I can't stop that.
Dead.
They're on my ass. They're on my ass.
Punisher, you need to get on.
Fuck that.
Oh, there's not even any time to
Get
portal, bro.
away. What are you doing?
No point of portaling.
Dude, I should have ulted.
We should have won that fight, bro. That TP
Yes,
just gave him
and I should have
momentum.
ulted. Our fucking Punisher just sat
Dude,
there.
this Gambit ulted on himself when he fell on the floor and fucking made it back and helped his team live, bro. That's actually bullshit.
It's okay.
I know. I shouldn't have tried to chase him. That was my fault, man. I don't know if I guess I kind of forced the ult because he was almost dead, but either way,
Yeah.
it didn't help us.
Which it was a W either way.
30 seconds before
Like I know he didn't get his other teammates, but they didn't die either, so it's kind of a tough situation.
I'm getting focused by 2 tanks and the healer, bro.
Yeah, I mean, you're doing way better than our Punishers, though, all things considered. Bro, this guy's... You get, like, an extra 7th on him, or quarter on him was, you know, mathematics.
The Batman magic. Fuck him.
The battle starts in 5,
Womp womp.
4, 3.
Let me lock it. Let me sit up straight and everything.
All you need to do is capture the mission.
Let me turn my monitor on.
Let me turn my headphones. Let me put my headphones on.
Let me plug in my keyboard, bro, real quick.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's 5 point. Let's 5 point. Let's 5 point. Go point. Go point. Go point.
Yep, yep. I'm here. Are they going wide?
They're gonna be wide.
Oh shit! It fell.
Look at Mag. Look at Mag.
Mag low. Nice. Someone's.
Oh, that's a fat. I'm about to ult this.
No! Oh, I fucked up so badly.
Nah, they're pocketing, bro. Fuck.
Don't even worry. Don't even worry. I'm behind them right now.
What the fuck? Or I can't shoot. I just can't shoot.
What do you mean? Our healer can't shoot? What do you mean?
No, like my shots aren't going where they're supposed to be.
Ult it. You gotta ult it. There you go. That Mag's gonna save his ult for our funny. Look at Mag. Back in here, Mag.
I'm on Gambit's ass right now. Oh, okay. Oh, that's not good. Oh, what the fuck? He's got both our supports. Fuck. Punisher, why are you in the turret over there, bro?
Dude, the Punisher just stays in turret. He's rather just turret.
His farming stats.
Man's not even.
Oh my god, brother. I'm fighting for my fucking life over here, and Punisher's just like sitting in a fucking chair.
There's a widow in the corner. Sorry.
Okay. Mag dead. Okay. Okay, nice. Nice.
Judge, jury, executioner.
Oh my god, I did that for the longest possible here.
I'm behind them. I'm just waiting my time.
Oh my god!
We're good, bro.
Damn. Okay. All good. They just got it now. We have 96.
Back up or die, bro. Back up or die here.
Back up or die?
So we can have a full team fight. Yeah, back up or die. Either or.
I think he chose death. I'm gonna go from the top. Oh, never mind. We're not even at the part of the map yet. Never mind.
There we go. You gotta jump in. You gotta.
I'm in. Running low. Holy fuck, I'm low. Oh, I tried to stay in the bubble too.
We hit by the shotgun.
Fuck this Punisher, bro. Yeah, it doesn't matter if somebody heals me. It's just the Punisher just double pumps me, bro. When I'm on my form.
Yeah.
So we gotta get a pick here. Try to go for the Fuse here, or go for the tank. Like one tank.
Yeah. All right. Oh, bro. Oh, we gotta go for it, man.
There you go. They're split.
Okay, beacon down. Rocket's beacon dead. Punisher can die. Punisher's so low. Punisher's dead. Okay. Nice.
Look at Mag. Mag dead.
Yeah, Widow. You jumping around? Okay, we should have this.
Oh,
nice.
Oh yeah,
Holy shit.
That's it, right? Okay.
Holy shit, that was it. Yep, that's it.
I tried.
What if I just spend all my points on this sound alert? Emotional damage.
When we get motion, she wants to quit, bro. You see that?
Hey, man. We did our best. We doing our best the whole time, anyways. That guy had that guy was carrying their team, bro. Holy that Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
Our Widow needs a new game to play. Stubborn.
I wish my Punisher was the other Punisher.
Play League LMAO.
Flip him. We could have just flipped them, right?
It's okay as long as their team is in shambles and not ours. I'm happy, man. They had more healings than us.
Yeah. Ow.
They had more damage blocked than us.
I healed myself 5k, bro.
Yeah.
Still just
What was the Venom? Venom healed himself 5k too. You and Venom both healed yourselves 5k. So that literally like adds up to the gap. Adds up to the gap in between like the healing on both teams.
Guys, the gap. Right?
Not gap as in the dandelion gap, bro.
They still win on healing.
I know, but like
gap.
it just it's
But I was sleeping them.
Yeah.
Dude, they win on healing.
Hey,
by
thank
a
you for
little
the
bit.
pocket there, bro.
Holy.
He was boosting and healing me with Mantis, bro, and I was just like in there.
Yeah, we so lost that fucking round. Anyways, I'm back to plat 1.
One singular round.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad I started at 43 out of 100 and I'm ending the night at 25 out of 100, guys.
Hey, you're ending it because you want to, bro.
Yeah, Dennis, I got 100 elo points in our last 3 games combined.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
Well, 99 exactly. If I added that, if I did the map, I added 99. Versus the 5 games we lost.
I lose more than y'all because I'm like a little bit higher. That's why.
Yeah. Also, I was the lowest rank in our lobby, even though I shouldn't be. But so I didn't lose that much every time we lost.
Man's like, I shouldn't be here, guys.
Okay, well,
I'm being graceful.
Even if, like, I mean, you know, we should have been at least the same rank. I don't deserve to be in platinum. Ooh, bro.
I don't know how your games must have been just bad. Your placement games must have been just bad.
No, it wasn't the placement games. It was the games I played after my placement games.
Oh,
when
okay.
I was just like fucking around with my friend,
games.
Like not sober.
Not bad.
I was playing competitive games at 3:47 in the morning, bro.
Night, everyone. Thank you for the games, Step Bro, Mad Moon, Gap, T. I really appreciate it, and thank you for everyone who came. It's nice to be back, guys. I will see you tomorrow. You know, the usual. Sorry, I'm just tired. I'm tired of fucking playing this fucking like fuck this shit. Anyways, I'll see y'all tomorrow. Bye. Good night.
Holy man.
God damn, guys. God damn.
Bro, this ain't T's the weak link or what's going on here?
Wait, what about T? He's going to bed.
I know. Ever since we added Gap and subbed out for T, we went on.
No. We lost the first one that Gap when T.
Oh yeah, I guess and then we won the first one without Gap too. I guess so.
Yeah, and then we won the first one without Gap, and then
that's been uphill from there.
Yeah.
I literally gained more. More in those 3 games than I lost in those 5 games.
Oh,
this doesn't happen to me ever, bro. I gotta take this as a. Yeah, I'm higher than I was.
You're higher than where you started?
Yeah, by 10 points.
Oh.
I lost 89 and I won 99.
Hey, I'm lower by less than 20. I was at 43 and now I'm at 25.
Okay, let me do some fishing real quick.
18. I'm just 18. Oh, damn. 18 points. I'm 18. Negative 18 points. Negative 18.
Negative 18?
Yeah. Negative 18.
Are you in negative 18?
Like,
no.
in total.
In total, okay.
So, yeah,
and
so she finished
can be negative 18.
Yeah. I was about to say, didn't we win the last game? How are you in a negative? You ranked up.
Oh, yeah. No. No, I'm just saying overall, you know, when we started where I started.
Not bad.
I lost.
Not horrible. That's one game, really.
Could be better, you know.
I mean, it's one game.
Yeah,
How much do you get for win? Do you get like 20 plus?
I get like 27, 28 per win, and then for each loss, I lose like 18, 19, 20. 20 was like the highest I lost, I think. So yeah. If I'd won one more, it would have been like a good 10. Oh, hi that
man.
I forgot Unity was in here, guys.
He's been here the whole time.
I know. I told
Like
you
before
that.
I was
thought
in here, he
left.
was here.
I know. Well, I just thought he left at some point. That's it. Because he'd stopped talking completely. So I was just like, oh, he probably left. You know. Because, you know, he leaves. You know. You know. I'll stop saying, you know. Because you already know. You know. You know. Why is it so hard to get out of fucking plat right now? And why is it also so hard to get out of fucking diamond? Like, what the fuck?
Because those are the trenches.
They really are the trenches. And then we have people boosting.
I didn't even know you were streaming, man.
I've been streaming the whole time, bro. What the fuck?
Oh, are you still streaming? Oh, my apologies.
I mean, for now. I'm just fishing right now.
Are you still playing?
I'm fishing.
Oh, you're just fishing? Oh, okay.
Don't get aggressive, bruh. Which is an observation.
If you want a stream streak type shit, you know.
You don't give your mod a sub, bro. It's crazy. L streamer, guys. L streamer.
What are you talking about?
Like what?
Not giving your mod a sub. L streamer.
Gifted tier sub to Pokemon community game. Damn, what the fuck? That's actually funny as hell, bro.
No.
That's crazy.
That's actually funny as hell.
Wait, what?
I'll pay you this month, bro. I got you.
Respects. The Pokemon community game actually got the sub, bro. Is that even possible? I didn't know that was possible.
Wait, is that possible? No.
It happened. It just happened. He just did it.
Oh shit.
Where? I don't see it in your stream.
I'm reading it, bro.
That's a bot. Yes, it's a bot.
Oh shit. Yo, give it back, bro.
Oh my god.
How the fuck can I give it back? That's like it's a bot and it's a moderator. That shouldn't be allowed, bro. You should be able to give a gift to a moderator.
Yes. I thought it was your man's, bro.
Pokemon community game.
Not Pokemon community game.
You thought that was my man's? Bro, who am I, Game Freak?
Brother, my name is Step Bro. I've seen crazy names.
Pokemon community game. Step Bro 2566.
No, Unity, you missed out. That bro just gave Pokemon community game a sub to Mad Moon stream.
Give it back, bro.
How am I gonna give this back to you, bro?
Serious?
That's actually funny as fuck, bro.
Community.
Let me see something.
Wait, aren't they all?
I want to see if it has the badge.
Also, Gab, I just noticed your fucking like.
It has
the badge. It has the subscriber badge. That's so funny, bro.
That's funny.
What was subscriber? That's crazy.
I mean,
wait, isn't that one of your foundational like?
I don't know if it's the foundation. Does the founder one have like the number on it?
Oh no, yeah.
It's just a normal star.
Yeah, 1 subscriber is crazy.
That's so funny, bro.
About my PNG Roxy, what is wrong with?
No, I just noticed your, you know, when you talk.
Yeah, oh, his Omni-Man reacted with the ass, bro?
Yeah.
Only thing wrong with it is it's not the same aspect ratio as the other one, so it's got like a distance between it.
Oh my God,
yeah, that's the only problem.
It's not a square. It's not a square in the thing.
That's crazy.
Yeah, no, I seen your things. I was like, yo,
that's binoculars, dude.
What the
just
fuck?
funny as fuck, bro.
What is this one? What?
Let me make it bigger.
What the fuck is this?
Let me make it bigger on my stream so everybody can see this.
Oh my God, he has to make it bigger.
Bro's got the Omni-Man with the fucking ass pose.
No, my fucking.
The fucking Nicki Minaj Anaconda pose.
That's not PNG, bro.
I know, I see it, bro. I was low-key wondering, yo, like, how do I disable this shit and make it just a normal Discord profile picture, bro? I don't want to see all this ass, too much ass on my screen, bro.
Hold on. I don't know how y'all have it set up to have
there's nothing wrong, bro. Just imagine the views, bro. Everyone's gonna notice it. Oh my God, it's
Yeah. Just stay in my Discord chat all the time, bro.
How do you set up your?
I love the cape. Let me see the cape.
Oh, you have to go to reactive.
If you go to the website, you can upload your own PNGs.
Yeah, you can update it.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Like for mine, I guess you can't see on my stream, but when I do like the muted in the Discord or like the
is it shaking
Discord, it's got
his ass whenever he turns around?
Yes.
Yeah, because on mine I have like the bounce when you're talking, so your icon moves up and down.
The bouncing.
So when his ass is on, his ass is just like.
You said it. Okay.
I was about to say
I was just like, I don't think I said the shaking.
Yeah, no, there's multiple settings. Sometimes I just do it because it like differentiates.
Yeah. You just go to the reactive site, Unity. If anything, I'd actually appreciate if you change yours because yours is so dark you can't even tell when it like.
What's wrong with being dark, bro?
Because you can't see that shit, bro.
Shut the fuck
Yo,
up.
you know what? I would
Bro.
prefer if you guys went into the reactive website and made like a transparent background. That'd be nice, guys. that'd be ideal, actually.
Anything else?
Guess a transparent background. That'd be nice.
The soundboard with sound.
Do I have the soundboard with sound?
Actually, the soundboard on. Yeah, you can hear it.
I don't know what soundboard you're referring to.
I'm out. Yeah,
Let me see if you can hear this.
Discord soundboard. I have Discord soundboard. Yeah. I got that.
I also have.
I have the Discord soundboard enabled. Yeah.
Yeah, I love mine.
Play your noises if you want, bro.
Play my noises? Are you sure, bro?
Play my noises? That's actually crazy to say that.
How good is that dick? Oh, how good!
Can we?
I actually don't even know how to turn the soundboard back on, I'll be honest with you guys. I just...
You don't want to.
Right click on the soundboard icon on Discord.
Put your pussy lips on live. I'll give you 1,000.
It's at the bottom next to like the stream camera activity thing. It's the like megaphone looking thing.
Oh, okay, that one.
Right click on it and you can turn the volume back on.
I have one called King.
Okay,
Okay.
Let me hear this.
Is that dick good? Yes, kid. How good is
Yes,
that dick? Oh, how good?
What the fuck?
I'm the problem. I'm the problem. Don't worry, I understand.
Why is this a soundboard?
That's the favorite. That's the greatest sound of all time, bro.
How good is that?
I'm the problem. Don't worry, I understand.
On my soundboard. What the fuck?
You didn't know that was on your soundboard? I put it there. I put it there like months ago. Dude, it's actually perfect, bro.
I'm the problem.
I'm the problem. Okay, I'm the problem, guys.
Don't worry, I understand.
Don't worry, I understand. I'm the problem.
My Shayla?
God, fuck you.
Oh my god.
My Shayla. It's just soundboard spam now.
And this is why I haven't muted guys.
Can we stop spamming the soundboard, please?
You just mute it, my dude. Do what I do.
Who's a feminine?
I mean, yo, Stepbros has some crazy sounds in his fucking.
Zepro has some sexual sounds.
There's a lot of clapping, bro. I only hear a lot of clapping, bro.
I know, right? So much skin on skin. Goddamn, Zepro.
How do you respond? Jesus Christ, bro. So my question is like, where are you finding these sounds, bro?
No.
That is a good question.
I have them on my Discord.
Yeah, that's exactly what.
The end of it's me.
All right, well, I guess I'm just gonna play a quick match real quick.
I got one called "Give Me Them Guts."
This one.
It come with that.
I think I've seen that video before.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've seen a video with that exact same title too.
That's basically it.
Just give me them guts. Oh.
You don't got the that, bro. What are you doing? You don't have that on your soundboard, bro?
He's scared.
You don't got that one?
Remember that a booty hole is not a vagina.
Okay. Yeah.
Why do you need that explicit?
Why do you need that reminded, bro? Why do you need a reminder?
It's I'm just going through them, bro. I really am.
You're just going through what? Booty holes?
no, my shit.
Your shit?
I don't even. These two.
Oh, okay. All right, bro. All right, bro.
They'll be coming in 30 seconds. Stay strong.
Bro, you should start playing Overwatch.
Okay.
Why do you hate him? Why do you hate him, bro?
You think I'm gay, bro? I don't play that.
I mean,
I play it, and I'm not gay.
Pokemon community
Females,
game now,
females
we have the
cannot be
badge.
gay. Okay.
That's technically true, yeah.
So when
Females
you go
cannot be
yes,
gay.
it's not gay, right?
No, they're lesbian.
It's
That's
not.
technically a
It's
different
just
thing.
more sexy.
They're lesbian. It's different. It's different. Can you go
It's
Jeff
just
Nato?
sexier,
Bro, you want to go
bro,
Jeff
like-
Nato, bro, in 2026?
yes,
Sure, bro.
bro.
I got you. Next life.
You know, whenever she's like, I'm lesbian, don't talk to me, and you'd be like, haha, stop it, it's turning me on.
Wait, what?
Is that what they tell you, bro?
On gang, bro.
On gang?
No,
No, this is quick match.
There was one
Are
time
you
where this chick was
mentally
like,
well?
Am I mentally well?
I'm
No.
lesbian, and I was like, hey,
But
people call me a
Manuel,
pussy sometimes.
did you
so
not
that
get the
counts.
Storm summer skin?
No? The fuck?
What? Why not? You play her.
Yeah, I play like.
Baller like that, bro.
Yeah, look, I like good. I got good looking skins, you know. I fucking mid ass summer skin, bro.
Upgraded
Mid-ass
to
purple
legendary.
Okay, bro. You want me to placate the racists, bro? You want me to give them money after how they did me, bro?
Like, dude, they're fixing up their racism.
Okay, bro. Yo, fixing their racism, bro. They shouldn't have been racist in the first place, bro.
Nah.
I play Storm for the love of the game. I'm not giving these. I'm not giving these motherfuckers money, bro.
You don't even support the Black Queen. This is why they don't give her skin.
I play the
People
fucking
like you-
character, bro. I attribute play. I am Lord Storm. What do you mean I don't play the character, bro? The fuck?
No, I'd say people like you don't want to buy the skin. I didn't say don't.
I would buy it if I respected the company that made it, bro.
You play her, and you so you should be
Yeah,
buying
yeah. If I respected the company that made it, bro. It's over, dude. It's over, bro.
You say you don't respect the company, yet you'll buy a different skin.
I haven't bought a skin since they disrespect my Black Queen.
Okay, and when you do, because you know you're going to. Bitch,
Am I?
You know you're going to.
I don't know, dude.
What do you mean when you say you people?
You're crazy,
That bro,
dude.
you know exactly what. What the fuck? Shut the fuck up. This has nothing to do with his race.
I'm just saying.
Nothing to do with his race.
I'm a little sus.
I'm the only person you know that plays this character. You know. You don't think I'm offended that they've been racist towards her since the. Yo, all right. I'm gonna give her a disco skin first, then give her a Savage Land skin, then give her a fucking X-Men Gala skin, and then give her the fucking Egypt skin, and then maybe I'll buy a skin again.
Hey, yo, we could have voted for her in that hellfire.
I did every time. Every
I
time.
voted for her. I only voted for her one time because I wasn't there for the first vote.
Fuck him up, fuck him
I
up.
wasn't there for the first vote.
Fake fan,
okay?
fake fan.
Loki, the first time I voted for Black Widow because that skin looked nice as fuck.
You vote for Black Widow?
The very first time, yeah.
Black Widow? She's literally a throw character at that point.
Yeah, but that was Black. I still like the skin, bro.
Yeah,
you
you
think
see,
I'm,
you never know the future, bro.
I don't care about the fucking abilities of the character. I like this. If the skin is.
You don't even play her.
Listen, I just want
You
to
don't
see
need to. You don't need to play her,
killing
bro.
Venom,
The skin
okay?
looked
That's
nice,
all I
bro.
want.
Bitch, you know how you
know
didn't
the
see
hard
ass
to
when
play
you
one.
see Venom
Yeah,
by playing Venom.
bro.
There, you're seeing ass.
Which one? Venoms are yours.
It could be the
Venom's
worst
ass,
player.
bro.
If they have cake, I'm trying.
Okay, and you know who else has cake? Venom has cake. Thor
I bought this
technically
cake
has
for him.
You're
cake.
talking about men, bro. That's the problem.
You never specify what kind of cake.
That's not cake, bro. That's like fucking. That's like that pie they put on fucking Scrandle, bro.
Men have cake, right?
It's not the kind of cake that I want, bro. That's just like a carrot cake, bro. I don't want that.
Specify what cake
Exactly.
you want. You just said cake.
I want
You just
Emma's
said
cake, bro. That's what I want.
You just said cake.
Yeah, ass is ass technically. So like you gotta specify either cake with a candle or no cake with no candle. Which one?
You make it sound like women don't appreciate a man's ass.
I mean,
Very much do.
But Matt is not a woman.
I never said anything about the
Okay.
ass. I never said a single thing about the ass. I don't know why this got attributed to me, bro.
I'm surprised, man.
You were talking about the ass. You started bringing up Venom, bro. I'm like, yo, what are we talking about, man?
Yeah,
What the-
what the hell?
This shit not even about me.
Me? What do you say? What the hell? This is you. You literally.
That's not even about me, bro.
I brought up Venom's ass because this motherfucker said I want to see ass when I'm killing Venom. That's what he
Look
said.
at you.
Word
Always
for
pointing
word.
fingers. Always pointing
Guys, nah.
fingers.
Watch the
wait,
bud.
wait.
Watch the bud.
It's what when Sebro said that, I said Venom. You're one, bro. It's like a difference. That's what I said.
I said Emma's ass, and then you said, well, Captain has an ass. Thor has an
Cap does
ass.
have an ass.
Venom
I
has an
never
ass.
said Cap has ass. You're the one who brought up Cap does not have an ass. So.
That's America's ass. Hey, that's America's ass.
No. Yeah, this. Do you not see this? He's looking at men's ass. There. Okay? He's looking. He doesn't care if it's a man or woman. He just wants ass.
I'm about to start downloading mods in this bitch, bro.
Do it, bro.
You gotta get the 19 inch of Venom, bro.
You seen the shit that people?
I was about to get that 19 inches of Venom, bro.
Oh yeah, I see what they got.
Yeah,
I've seen them.
bro. Holy fuck, bro.
I've seen them. They turned Jeff into
Oh no, I'm not talking about Jeff, bro.
You talking
I
about?
was just saying, I thought that was cute. They turned him into the chainsaw. Man.
Oh yeah, I used to have that mod until it started crashing my game, bro. In like season 1. In like January of 2025, bro, I had that shit and it just started crashing my game. I know I had Iron Man as
How do you
Vegeta.
download them, first of all?
I had I had Punisher as CJ from San Andreas, bro. Like I had some dumbass mods on my computer, bro.
It's for porn.
Anyways,
just quiet that.
He missed? Did he miss? Jeff, bro. Jeff Brody, bro.
Pop is out to do it, bro.
No, but you have to click a.
I ulted first and then he ulted on me, but he didn't actually ult on me.
Yeah. No. Wait, he doesn't need to ult though.
He just needs to press the button, no?
Yeah, he just needs to.
You just have to press the button.
He doesn't even need to fucking ult.
I guess he just ulted. I don't know.
Maybe he doesn't know. Maybe he doesn't know. Give him a bit of
This guy requested the team up specifically, bro. I could have had hit scan lightning, bro. Man, fuck Jeff.
Well,
I'm going back to the Thor team up.
Should have ignored him.
oh, okay, damn. Always pushing out the minorities, huh? Always pushing out the minorities out. It's crazy.
But then you start talking about shit like ass and whatever. And you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah, bro, I had to stay.
He's got a lot on his mind, bro.
Bro, if we talking about ass, I have to be there, bro.
Stop. Now make that motherfucker hammer time.
No, we don't sing her music here. We don't sing her music here.
What?
We can.
I mean, you're not even streaming anymore. We can sing music. The fuck? Fuck my stream. The hell?
Oh, no.
I don't care about a copyright strike on my stream.
Oh, no. I just sing her music.
Oh, yeah. Don't please sing real music.
Yo. This is a question for the guys. Y'all saw how Drake...
Why is it when I tune in, it's always about ass?
No.
No. I'm reading the chat.
Hi, Twice.
No, all I'm asking, right?
Yeah.
Is,
No.
Would y'all?
You said Drake and I immediately lost interest.
Wait, what happened with Drake?
You saw how he barked?
Oh yeah, I saw the video. I saw the video.
Wait,
Yeah.
he barked? Why'd he bark?
So Drake did a 20v1 like a Jubilee video, like 20 like girls trying to like be his next girl or whatever. And there was like this goth chick who was on the thing, and he started barking for her. Basically, he's like, what are you willing to do for me? She's like, yeah, I'll do anything. She's like bark for me. So he started barking.
He started barking?
Yes, Drake started barking at a goth girl who was like, you know, like.
Was she good looking? Was she like, you know,
I mean,
did she have nice ass?
Listen.
I looked at her and I was like, I could save her.
It's not like a. Oh, you can save her, bro. Don't you have a wife?
Unless please send me a clip of this, I would like to.
Yeah.
I'll show you. I'll show you.
Yeah, I'm not barking for that. I mean, she had a lot of work done.
The thing is that all the
brother,
like.
Brother, I do
it's not like a real goth. It's like a.
Wait, step right. I mean,
like an e-girl goth girl, you know?
Are you showing?
Oh, so see.
Like she didn't have any real tattoos or anything. Type of goth, like LARPing, like that. Like it's like that kind of. It's like cosplay, like goth, you know?
Piercings?
Yeah, probably. I don't even know, to be honest.
No, she doesn't.
Just wearing all black with black lipstick and like, you know, black.
Dude, those boobs are so fake.
Brother, I do not give a fuck.
What is this art? And then she purposely moved her.
You see that shit, bro?
No, that's a fake goth.
Yeah, no, it's not even like authentic.
Brother, that shit was crazy, bro.
I have 3 health. Oh my god, I have 3 health.
And she has vampire teeth.
Yeah.
Wait, did she get those done, or are they just like?
I think there might be like veneers or some shit.
Brother,
like,
I do not care if they're fake or not, bro.
You're with it? Oh, he's down bad. Oh, he's down bad, bro.
I'm with it, bro.
Nah, other goths.
He's not down bad.
He said he was
another
with
thing
it,
is,
bro.
can I just talk about how ugly Drake is? No offense. but-
Yeah.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Hey, if
Drake
Drake
ugly
is
as
a
fuck, bro.
multi-millionaire, bro.
Okay.
Captain.
Okay, bro. Elon Musk was a trillionaire like last week, bro. What are you trying to say?
Yo, if Drake barks,
You make it sound like money makes you beautiful.
Okay,
It can make you
and
beautiful, but doesn't mean it automatically
fake.
does.
yeah,
Hold on.
yeah. No, no, no.
If I had
The
money,
thing
I
is
would
that
get
Drake has also had
money,
multiple
but-
plastic surgeries, and now it's just yeah. He had his abs done. He had a fucking.
Oh.
He got the fat removed in his stomach. You don't know about that?
I think I heard about the abs thing, but not the fat removed or anything else. Wait,
Fat
has he
removed
done
from
something
his
to
stomach
face?
to get the abs.
Has he done? Does he have like? Did he do something to his face?
I don't know, but his face is looking really rough
Off
these
Westwood
days.
For OnlyFans, pretty much. Oh, okay. Wait, Twice. Did you hear? China
He
banned
got a BBL.
OnlyFans?
He didn't get a BBL. He actually didn't get a BBL. The BBL is like he got half the BBL technically.
It's a joke. He got half a BBL. Wait, explain. How do you get half a BBL?
So the process of a BBL is they take fat from one other place of your body and put it somewhere else. So basically, you just got the fat from one place taken off. That's half a BBL. You didn't get the fat put on anywhere else. So that's the other half of the BBL.
God,
I would have barked, bro. That's what I'm saying.
You would have
would
barked?
fuck her. To be honest, she
I
looks
would've
she's a
barked.
fake. She doesn't look like a real goth girly. I'm sorry.
Okay. I don't. It would.
Now, if it was a goth like
What about
Tina-
China? No, China banned OnlyFans.
China.
You know, in Texas, you can't go to Pornhub.
Yeah, they made
Oh, I
they
thought
made
that
weed
was
even
only
more
Utah.
illegal in
I
Texas,
thought that was
bro.
only Utah.
Yeah, Texas, you
Wait,
can't- you
Batman,
can't
how
go
are
to
you
Pornhub.
living?
Yeah, because you got to do ID verification or some shit, no?
Through
No, you can't even do that.
No. Hold on. You can't even do ID verification. It's completely banned.
I've tried.
Oh, yeah,
What
okay.
mean you've tried?
I mean, exactly what he said, bro.
They're trying to ban Crunchyroll next in Texas.
What do you
I've
mean?
tried-
No,
I've
no, no,
tried-
no,
I've
no,
tried,
no,
bro.
no, 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 guys.
All right, I'm gonna end the stream here so we can get some more details off stream.
Yeah.
Because they have
Hold on, man.
All right,
Wait, they
good
have their
stream.
own